3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She was the Heisman Trophy winner in 1986. He left her off the ballot. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Pivotal moment for one storied NFL franchise. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. The Chicago Bears cannot screw this up, Perloff, and good morning. They have an opportunity that they've set themselves up with, which was trading with the hapless Carolina Panthers last year. They now have the number one overall pick. We talk about playoff clinching scenarios, which we will get into very, very much in today's show. But the other clinching that happened was the Bears getting that number one overall pick from the Carolina Panthers. That happened in Week 17. And now the Bears have to do the right thing here. And this is not a disrespect to Justin Fields. It's going to sound like it. But if they do not draft a quarterback with that number one overall pick, they are making a massive mistake that will eventually get everyone there fired.
Well, yeah, but drafting Caleb Williams, I'm just say he's the number one overall pick,
Let's
the
use
USC
him,
quarterback.
Yes.
if they pick him, there's also a great chance that everybody gets fired because guess where quarterbacks go to die? Chicago. Except for this year, all of a sudden you have some momentum around a very young, very talented quarterback in Justin Fields. You might have your quarterback for the first time ever. You're going to actually give up on this because the alternative is we build this dream team around Justin Fields, the current quarterback, and let's go. If you're a GM, you could get fired either way. Why not take a risk and get a haul for that number 1 overall pick and just be wildly talented at every position and have the same scenario where you're probably going to have the number 1 pick next year? Because if you trade that pick, you're trading to Washington or New England, who are going to stink with Caleb Williams. They're going to be terrible.
First of all, you can't do the kick the can down the road. Oh, we'll just get him next year. Not when you have this type of draft class. And listen,
we say that every year.
But we don't, because we didn't say it the year that Kenny Pickett got drafted to the Steelers.
Yeah,
there are years that are bad.
Yeah, but we didn't say it. We never said a year before Joe Burrow was in the draft. Like, well, next year there's no quarterbacks. Then all of a sudden Joe Burrow emerges.
Okay, the Bengals got as lucky as a team could possibly get.
Right. But, there are a lot of teams that think they have the number 1 guy and it doesn't work out. That's why they had the number 1 guy because they're a bad organization. Say the Panthers still had this pick. They could draft Caleb Williams and they probably win 3 games next year. So I'm just saying it's not as simple as, we got to get Caleb Williams and we're all of a sudden going to fix everything.
Okay. It's not even just about, there is that part of it. There's a contractual part of it that, might be boring to people, but it's a real thing that teams have to think about, which is you could start over with a rookie as opposed to Fields, who will be after his 3rd season. You have to make a decision about the 5th-year option. And essentially, if you keep Fields, you're telling him and his agents, we're ready to pay you now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the money part of it. You also cannot be the team who passed on this potential generational talent, because no one will fault you for trading away Justin Fields, who we may be seeing the apex right now. Okay, good for Justin Fields, good for the Bears that they're getting some momentum. This is after he missed 4 games, by the way, because of that thumb injury. And it's been Minnesota, Detroit, Arizona, and the Atlanta Falcons. This is not exactly Murderer's Row that they have beaten.
It's one pretty good team in there.
Okay, Detroit, who was also kind of in a little bit of a free fall, and their division rivals. Like, you can't just look at that and say, wow, you beat the Atlanta Falcons in the snow. Let's sign this guy to $100 million. That is foolish, and it is short-sighted.
Okay, but look around the 32 teams in the league. Who is Murderer's Row, Maggie? I mean, who are they going to beat? Unless they beat the Ravens or the Niners, there's no Murderer's Row out there, so forget it. They're winning the games in front of them. They're going to bring back Matt Eberflus, probably, according to Ian Rappaport's report.
Yeah, I'm not believing that, by the way.
Their defense is playing well. Well, we'll see. Yeah. They have to beat Green Bay, or they have to at least show up against Green Bay. But I don't necessarily buy this generational quarterback thing is going to fix anything, especially with the Chicago Bears. They could get such a haul, and I know you're poo-pooing it, but they could easily have the number 1 pick next year as well.
Okay, but here's the thing. You use Joe Burrow as the example as why you could pass this year, and you might end up getting, the next Joe Burrow will emerge. You talk about how a quarterback can't lift an organization. Look at what Joe Burrow has done. I mean, it does happen when you have guys that are this good. I still believe that Trevor Lawrence could be this good. Like, I still think Justin Herbert could be this good. There are guys out there who you can see the talent. And instead, what you're doing is you're grading Fields on a curve. And I understand why people do it. You get excited. You've won 3 of the last 4, all of that stuff. But you're grading him on a curve because he doesn't look awful. Then you're saying, he could be the next guy. He looks good up until the 4th quarter. Don't go into those 4th quarter stats, and you might be really, really disappointed by what you find. So, to me, you may be seeing the ceiling here with Fields. You have a golden ticket now because you did the right thing in fleecing the Carolina Panthers. You cannot let this opportunity pass. And if the Bears do anything but, they're going to look stupid.
The only problem with Justin Fields is his contract. You put him in this draft, first of all, he killed it at Ohio State.
Yeah,
he was better than all these guys, except maybe Caleb Williams. He would go top 10 right now. He's a 24-year-old quarterback, same age as Michael Penix, basically. He'd be a high pick. He just has his contract situation. That is the only downside here.
And
but
you can also get something for him now. So there's an article on ESPN.
You get a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Okay. That's not a game changer.
First of all, if he does, let's say he does have a really good showing against Green Bay, like for all the reasons why you're saying he should be the Bears quarterback or remain the Bears quarterback, are all the reasons me as the GM of the Bears can go shop him on the open market and say, hey, Atlanta Falcons, hey, whoever, come and take a look at Justin Fields. And I might be, selling high on Justin Fields. How much better do you think he's going to get?
I think the sky is the limit. He's 24.
Is it though? Or is this of what he is? Are we seeing the best of what he can be? Which again is not bad. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but they haven't won diddly. I mean,
look around. Yeah, they haven't won diddly because they have a very young quarterback and a young team around him. Give him another big-time receiver, and I think he could develop. I mean, look at the young quarterbacks who've taken steps. Jalen Hurts got A.J. Brown took the next steps. I think Jordan Love is showing that you can be 24, 25 and take a next step. There are a lot of young quarterbacks. Like, why couldn't he be why couldn't he be a Pro Bowler? I could easily see him being a top 14 quarterback.
Okay, is that what we're in this for?
Well,
he's the 11th overall pick. We want to be a top 14 quarterback? Yeah, I mean, again, you're grading on a curve here.
I just think that this team is showing, if they beat the Packers and they end up at 8-9, this team is showing a lot of momentum. You're telling me you're not going to be high on Justin Fields and the Bears? We're going to lower 10. If they trade that number one overall pick, you're bringing in another probably Pro Bowl level veteran talent like they did with DJ Moore last year. You're adding whatever first-round pick you get in exchange, maybe Marvin Harrison Jr., and you're getting 2 first-round picks and another third. You are having an incredible haul, and you're going to build a lot of talent around Justin Fields.
If you gave me multiple bites at the draft apple, it still doesn't really ensure that I'm going to hit on anything. I'll give you Marvin Harrison Jr. looks like a sure thing, but what's the most important position in the entire sport?
Quarterback.
Okay. And you have the number one overall pick in a draft class that, say whatever you want, at least at the very top, we think that this is going to be a good one. Like, you wouldn't fault a team. This is not Zach Wilson, who's riding the draft process, who never had a good career at BYU, basically, and rode the draft process to the Jets making a stupid decision.
Well, how do you know it's not that? Well, first of all, we're talking about the number 2 pick is probably going to be Drake May, who has Mitchell Trubisky written all over him.
You don't have to worry about the number 2 pick. You've got the number 1 pick.
The number 1 pick could be Jared Goff, could be Baker Mayfield. Like, you have no idea. Or there's, number 1 pick doesn't guarantee anything.
Jared Goff just won 11 games and made it to a Super Bowl under his rookie contract. And you also have Baker Mayfield. Listen, I don't know what to do with Baker. Every time he's out, then he's back in. That's the Bermuda Triangle.
So you're happy with Jared Goff in LA? That's what you're hoping for? First of all, if they draft Caleb Williams, they're going 5-12 next year. All this momentum they got this year is going away.
Okay, they go 5-12. That's only 2 wins off of what they are this year.
Well, if they beat Green Bay, they're 8-9. I think if they trade this pick and bring in even more veteran talent, I think you're looking at a playoff team next year. If they draft Caleb Williams,
short-sighted.
If they draft Caleb Williams, no way.
Okay, you made the playoffs.
And there's no way they're winning the Super Bowl in that window.
Okay, well, you made the playoffs with Mitchell Trubisky. Where did that get you? You want to do a one-off playoff appearance, and lose on the road in the first round? Have fun. Have at it. But instead, you have an opportunity where, next year might be a little bit tough because you'll be playing with a rookie. But look at that. That's not the point when you're drafting the number 1 overall pick. The point is you get your franchise.
I just think you're not going to easily replace Justin Fields' talent. He can run as well as any quarterback in the league. His only problem is he holds on to the ball too long. That's whatever. That's a wrap on him. But he's got to get better. He's just so young. He came in the league at 21. I think that the upside on Justin Fields is legit.
You might be right about that. But I ask you, put the upside of Fields to the upside of Caleb Williams. Maybe this is what it comes down to, Perloff, is you might not be a Caleb Williams believer. And I think that might be the problem.
That's an absolute lie. I tell you, 5 throws into the Oklahoma-Texas game 3 years ago, I said, this is a number 1 overall pick. He's the most talented college quarterback.
Then you should want to run this pick up to the commissioner.
The only thing is, I am a Caleb Williams fan, and I do not want him to go to Chicago. And I think most people who are NFL fans agree with that because it's not going to work there.
So you're going to let Justin Fields languish in Chicago. You just don't want to see Caleb Williams.
Is probably a better fit. A guy who's not going to throw for 5,000 yards. You give me a more conservative quarterback with Justin Fields. Caleb Williams has got to go somewhere like Mahomes did. He needs an Andy Reid. He needs a high-flying offense where he's chucking the ball around 45 times. That will never be the Chicago Bears.
Okay, well, yes, there might be some stuck in the mud sort of ethos with the Bears where they always want it to be 1985 again and you're just handing off to Walter Payton and relying on that defense. And meanwhile, the league has changed a lot. But if you move on from a defensive-minded head coach, right, if you do put whatever closest version you can get to Andy Reid right now. And you pair that person. I'm not talking about Lincoln Riley either. I'm not talking about someone who's never done it on the professional level. I'm talking about somebody who you believe could be an innovator. Then why not? Why? Because the weather's bad? Aren't you building a new stadium anyway?
Why didn't you just give me Cliff Kingsbury then, like they did with Arizona with Kyler Murray?
But Cliff Kingsbury turns out doesn't know how to manage a clock or a team.
Listen, he won 11 games in Arizona. I think he was a bit
with a
underrated.
rookie.
Yeah, so I just think that this formula, if Chicago drafts a quarterback at number one, I could just see that not working and them becoming irrelevant. They build this dream team around Justin Fields. They are a really, really interesting team.
You think they'll become irrelevant if they draft Caleb Williams?
Yeah, I think it's going to bomb if they draft Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams' camp is not going to make that an easy process, not by a mile.
Yeah.
I think they're going to say, do not do this.
I know, but we hear those threats all the time. We heard about Joe Burrow. We heard about others. Like, guys, don't do that. Eli Manning isn't walking through that door.
Yeah, but I mean, listen. Chicago Bears is a graveyard of promising quarterbacks. They just cannot get it right. And if Matt Eberflus is coming back, then Caleb Williams is not going to go. He's not going to do that. And if I'm him, I'd go back to USC. Actually, he probably already declared.
No, I don't think that's a possibility.
I would go into the transfer portal and help EJ out and go to the Miami Hurricanes. I would not go to Chicago. I love Caleb Williams, and I love all these mock drafts saying, oh, maybe it's going to be Jaden Daniels or Drake May.
It's not.
It's not, although there is a lot of smoke out there that, it's pick apart the prospect time. Everyone's saying Caleb Williams' character might not be there, whatever. It's just not a great fit, and you know it. You know that Caleb Williams, Chicago, it's just be like a collective groan from NFL Nation when it's week 7 and the Bears are 2-4 and can only score 16 points a game, kind of like Bryce Young in Carolina. It's just not the right spot.
Okay, well, I like Caleb Williams' tools a lot more than I like Bryce Young's, but we talked about that before the draft. I think that I'm excited, actually, if Caleb Williams ends up going to Chicago, because there's always a chance, especially now in this day and age in the NFL, where a quarterback changes your fortunes. And if you can find somebody to turn it around, like I watched Josh Allen do with my Buffalo Bills, which was a quarterback wasteland for 20 years.
At what age did Josh Allen do that? He was 25 or 26, right, where he started to be really good.
Well, they made they missed the playoffs his first year, and then they made the playoffs his second year. So,
right, but when did he become Josh Allen?
When they got Stephon Diggs and started changing the offense a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm just saying.
Early returns were good. They won the division, I believe, his second year.
Right, because he's big and strong and mobile, just like Justin Fields. Honestly, I think you could build around Justin Fields and be a real threat in the NFC.
You already saw it with Allen. You had already seen it with him by the time this had happened.
Fields ain't bad.
No, Fields is not
bad. He's pretty good.
But
and he's an incredible runner.
Josh Allen's first Pro Bowl year was 2020. That was his age 24 season.
It's his second year in the league.
Yeah.
2018 draft, 2019, 2020, right?
Yeah, so third year in the league. Second year, they won 10 games, made the playoffs, but he only threw for 3,000 yards.
Right. And they
I think Justin Fields would make the Pro Bowl next year because everyone makes the Pro Bowl. But I think he'd be
that's not a great reason.
I think he'd be a very productive quarterback next year. He'd probably be more ready to win in Chicago than Caleb Williams would. I think they'd be a better team next year. And that's the thing, Chicago.
Of course he would, because he's had 4 years under his belt. He should be more ready to win. But who's got the higher ceiling?
Definitely Caleb Williams. But if you're the Bears and you're looking at this like, oh my gosh, we're getting this momentum. We're hot at the end of the season. We're just going to give that away and start over and say we can build it around this rookie cap. Like, no, you got it. It's time to win there. It's time to win now. It's time to bring in much more talent. And the truth is, you say it's not a thing, but just get New England's pick. They're going to go draft Caleb Williams and win 3 games. They're terrible.
It's a dicey proposition if you just say, all right, we're going to pass on this potential franchise quarterback because we think we can get another guy next year. That is a dangerous way to think. That's what gets you fired.
Just wait around for Arch.
That's not a bad idea. 855-212-4CBS. Do you think that the family that wouldn't allow Eli Manning to play in San Diego is now going to be like, yeah, Arch, go to Chicago?
Well, San Diego was because the ownership group was crazy. Okay. I don't think Chicago necessarily, I don't know what the new ownership group is, but I'm not sure it's San Diego.
What happened to the McCaskies? Are they still not there?
Well, who's running it now?
I mean, the former commissioner of the Big Ten.
Oh yeah,
Kevin Warren.
I think it's a whole new. Yeah, I think it's a whole new regime. Didn't somebody die?
The family still owns it. They haven't sold to the Walmarts or something.
Yeah, but I don't think they're bad. They're not like the Chargers. The Chargers were super cheap. Like they wouldn't even they were like Moneyball cheap.
That's one part of it, but I'm just saying there's no way that the Mannings, I don't think, would let Arch go to Chicago. Caleb Williams has to be the guy, and they should do this. And if they don't, they're all going to get fired. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. What would you do? Would you stick with Justin Fields, trade that number 1 pick, get a haul, try to build the team around Fields? Or would you scrap all of that and say, we got this gift of the number 1 overall pick from Carolina, stinks, and we're going to turn that into Caleb Williams?
By the way,
yes.
Can I give you a reality check?
Sure.
If they beat the Packers, and you know that rivalry, then none of this is even a discussion.
Why?
Because they're going to be like, Eberflus, you're coming back. Justin Fields, you're coming back. That would be to knock the Packers out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
That would just be a monumentous thing for Chicago.
Again, the most short-sighted ever.
Well,
because
this is the NFL.
This isn't Brett Favre, and it's not Aaron Rodgers that you just knocked out here. I know Jordan Love has been playing better, but you didn't exactly slay the dragon here. This isn't Bowser's Castle at the end.
You do not lose. I mean, you don't win. How many would it be? Like 6 out of the last 7 or 5 out of the last? You don't get red hot at the end of the season and say, let's get a new quarterback and a new coach. It's just not how it works.
Well, when you have the number 1 overall pick, you do.
You don't. I'm telling you, if they beat the Packers, then everyone's coming back.
Then
it's a party in Chicago.
Keep being a bad franchise then. And keep running it into the ground. Keep being irrelevant. And keep on the same track.
Yeah.
And maybe everyone likes that in Chicago. I'm sure the fans don't.
I'm telling you right now, I am predicting them in the playoffs if they bring everyone back next year. 11-6. That's not bad. What's wrong with that?
Make the playoffs and
It's the NFC.
For what, though?
For what in the NFC? Who's scaring you in the NFC?
Well, that's not the point. A lot of teams scare me in the NFC. The 49ers scare me. The Dallas Cowboys. Your Philadelphia Eagles. The Lions aren't going anywhere. It's not like this easy path here. 855.
Bring the Cowboys out into that Munchie Field in December. Let's see them win in Chicago. I'm telling you, the new monsters of the Midway. Bring Caleb Williams out there, and you're talking about in 3 years they're going to look for a new solution. It's not going to work.
I think it will. 855-212-4CBS. Let us know what you think. What do the Bears do with that number 1 overall pick? Are you a Fields believer, or do you think they should scrap it, trade him, Caleb Williams? The one thing I also don't want to hear, you're not going to keep Caleb Williams, or you're not going to draft Caleb Williams and keep Justin Fields. That doesn't make any sense. That's not how this whole thing works. You would have to be trading Justin Fields at the apex here. If you can get a second-round pick, maybe you get a late first-round pick,
maybe a third-round pick?
Well, maybe third-round pick, I don't think you do it, but I also think that second-round pick is going to be there for him. I do. Can't keep both guys. 855-212-4CBS, Maggie and Perloff. If you want to watch the show, come on in. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio, Twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff in moments.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff. Maggie and I having a big debate today about the future of the Chicago Bears. Should they trade Justin Fields and draft probably Caleb Williams at number 1 overall? Or should they trade the number 1 pick for a haul? You know, it's funny. I'm looking at the Super Bowl odds, and it seems to me that there are two gigantic favorites this year, Baltimore and San Francisco, sorry. Neither of them have a number 1 overall pick, Maggie. And last year's teams, Patrick Mahomes against Jalen Hurts, those weren't number 1 picks. I think the model is changing. I think you can build a champion around a quarterback who does not have to be the number 1 overall pick. And who's to say that Justin Fields can't be Jalen Hurts or a lighter version of Lamar Jackson, a guy who you have a great defense and a great run game, who's going to keep plays alive, and a certain style of football, which isn't fling it all over the field, that can win you a lot of football games.
Okay, you really got to trust that the Bears would be able to do something that, quite frankly, is rare. I mean, the Purdy situation is like an all-time outlier. All-time outlier, right? It's like Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, with this team that has multiple 1,000 yards receivers. Like that, if you can do that, hats off to you. Lamar Jackson is one of the great mistakes in the history of the draft. And to be honest, one of the great mistakes almost in the history of re-signing a guy to a second contract. Because like that's one of the major failures of the NFL is the fact that Lamar Jackson fell to 31.
Well, yeah, but does Lamar Jackson have as much success if he goes number 1 overall to a crappy team who's crappy by the the definition because they were the number one overall team. He could have been a Jet.
He could have been a Brown.
Failure.
He's a better version of Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's the poor man's Lamar Jackson now.
Lamar landed in Baltimore. It was perfect for him. And they've built a team exactly around his skill set because they knew he was special. And it's been amazing. Now, I'm not saying Justin Fields can be that. He's not as electric as Lamar. He doesn't have, he doesn't sort of have the vision Lamar has. I totally understand that. I'm not putting that on Justin Fields. But he could be Jalen Hurts-like.
Okay, but again, with Philadelphia, like you're in a real golden era here with Philly where you've drafted well on defensive line. I know the secondary is a mess, all that stuff. You've made some prescient trades for A.J. Brown. You're super all in. You have Jason Kelce. You've got this cheat code of a tush push that keeps working. A lot of things are working right here for Jalen Hurts where I don't know if Chicago is going to have all of that. There's no pedigree there.
Well, the Bears, okay, they did a great trade to get DJ Moore in the building and this Panthers fleecing. So you have DJ Moore, draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Boom, you have one of the most talented wide receiver corps in the league. You got Montez Sweat in defensive line, draft another defensive line star. Boom, Dallas Turner or somebody, and then you have the defensive line. You could do all this. You have so many assets if you trade that number one overall pick. You can build a Niners-like team around Justin Fields.
Another team, the same team that traded Roquan Smith, who looks like one of the best defenders, again, going to the Ravens, sure. But, no one's perfect. You can nitpick on every kind of personnel decision. But if I'm a Bears fan, I don't have the trust that you're going to be able to put enough around Justin Fields where you can say, we should have never drafted Caleb Williams. We should have never tried to upgrade at quarterback because we're going to put this much around him. I just don't see it.
All right, but look, Zach Wilson, number 2 overall. Trey Lance, number 3 overall. I understand the number ones have worked out recently, but you never know. I'm just saying that you could talk yourself into Drake May number 1, and he could be gone in 4 years. It's not a guarantee with this number 1 pick that the Chicago Bears of all teams are going to turn it into some superstar quarterback. There's not another Mahomes. Because look I'm telling you, I think the model is changing a little bit because of Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. Like you're not winning because of your quarterback necessarily.
You don't think the Ravens are winning because of Lamar Jackson?
I think it's not like Patrick Mahomes. No, I don't think I'm on the Richard Sherman camp. Like Lamar Jackson's part of a much bigger machine in Baltimore. And Jalen Hurts is even more so in Philadelphia. Like I think you need a great team around the quarterback. I don't think you could just have one guy who's going to single-handedly do it all. And you saw Baltimore improved the receiving corps tremendously, and their defense stayed healthy for the first time ever.
But think of where they're starting from. Yeah. You're starting from a place where Lamar is such a talented person and quarterback that, no kidding, of course you should be putting more stuff around him, wide receiver wise. Green Bay should have been putting more wide receiver stuff around Aaron Rodgers. That's just a no-brainer, and the Ravens neglected that.
But Kansas City, on the other hand, is I'm going to give you less wide receiver stuff and see what you can do. Yeah, they won a Super Bowl.
Well, they won, but now look at what's going on. That's the biggest problem with Kansas City, right? Of course you have to give your quarterback weapons. I'm just asking, where's the baseline of the quarterback you're starting with? I'd rather be starting with a guy who has a ceiling of Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Because I got to put weapons around him anyway. I got to put weapons around Tom Brady. I got to put weapons around Patrick Mahomes.
I don't think you could dismiss the last 2 years with Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy. Honestly, it's not a number 1 overall pick. There's just so many pieces around these guys that you can elevate quarterbacks now. And honestly, I'm sorry, this is going to sound, they're elevating Lamar Jackson right now. They're guys, Zay Flowers and these guys are catching 8-yard passes, and Lamar is dropping perfectly and going 80 yards. Most of Lamar's passing yards this year are yak. So they're elevating him for sure. And Todd, you see the difference in the offensive coordinator. You can't, it's not just, okay, here's my quarterback, Caleb Williams. He's just so talented, he's going to fix everything. Now it's much more of a more complicated team-building process.
855-212-4CBS. Mike is in Indy. He's got a thought on this. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, this is Knight in Indy. And I agree with Perloff that if they win, I would bring the coach and the quarterback back if they win. And you know what? I wouldn't mind even putting it out there and putting pressure on them this week so I can see how the coach and the quarterback reacts. But if I put pressure on them saying, if they win, I'll bring you back, and then they do win against a relatively good Green Bay Packers team and a good Green Bay Packer quarterback, I would bring them back, try to get two first and 2 second for them, because if we trade the first round this year and you give me your second, Next year, you give me your first,
Yep.
and then in 26, you give me your second. I'm with Perloff. I think that's great. And maybe you could offer Fields a 3-year, $100 million guaranteed contract, and that wouldn't start until
I know.
26, 27, and 28. And let's face it, that would be a good price.
I know, but that's always
for
the
those 3
fallacy.
years, so.
That's always the fallacy of the fan is that the quarterback's going to take some team-friendly deal.
Right,
Not since Geno Smith.
Daniel Jones took 2 years, 80.
Daniel Jones was in the toilet. I mean, he had nothing.
But I'm with you, Perloff. Thank you.
Thank
What
you.
do you mean,
Have a
Daniel
great
Jones?
one.
Daniel Jones came off a playoff appearance and did a 2-year, $80 million deal. He had better numbers and I think efficiency numbers than Justin Fields. Why can't you're not going to sign Justin Fields to a $200 million deal?
If you're
no
passing
way
on
that's happening.
Caleb Williams, you're basically telling their agents, like, we're in it for you for the long haul. Here's my one issue with this this style of thinking. There are times when teams have to think in the real short term, right? Like when you're on the cusp of the Super Bowl, that sort of all-in mentality that you need, right? For this caller to say, I want to put pressure on my team, tell them if you beat Green Bay, we're going to bring you all back. If you lose to Green Bay, everybody's gone. Even if it's just a mental, like, ninja tactic, like, you're the Chicago Bears. Why in the hell would you be thinking in the short term? What about this team says that they're ready to do anything in the short term? You got to keep the long view here. You're not the 49ers. You're not the Miami Dolphins who are going all in right now, the Bills, whatever, like Kansas City. You've got to keep the long term in mind, not the short term.
It's time to win in Chicago. And if they finish 8-9 this year, I think there's going to be incredible optimism. The kind of optimism that's going to get your new stadium built. You're going to make the playoffs next year. I think this is the time to win right now. What are you waiting for? What are we waiting for? To quote Rocky.
Your favorite. Andrew Bogusch is here with headlines and also wearing a sick Hartford Whalers sweater. Good morning.
Good morning, Maggie. A headline sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Looking for a career path with flexibility and great pay and benefits? Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today, Pete. Last night in Memphis, John Morant did to Victor Wembanyama what Perloff's been trying to do to the rookie all season long.
Morant downhill at Wembanyama. He jams with 2 hands. He got by Wembanyama and got the dunk with 2 hands. Here come the Spurs.
That's from Grizzlies radio. Ja dunking around Wemby, not necessarily over him. The crossover to get to the rim was the best part of the sequence. He had 26 points and 10 assists, 27 boards and 4 blocks for Wemby in a 106-98 Grizzly win.
Wait, how many rebounds did he have?
Wembanyama had 7, 27 and 4.
Okay.
Yeah. The Thunder held off the Celtics for a 5-game win streak, 127-123. The Hornets snapping their 11-game skid, 111-104 in Sacramento. And the Sixers dumped the Bulls 110-97. Joel Embiid, 31 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists after missing 4 games with a sprained ankle. College hoops, top-ranked Purdue snapping Maryland's 19-game home win streak, 67-53. Zach Edey, 23, a dozen boards. And number 8, UNC, a 70-57 win at Pitt. Armando Bacot, 16 points, 10 boards. He became the 7th Tar Heel ever with 2,000 career points.
Armando Bacot's kid is already playing at North Carolina.
I just looked it up. How old do you think he is?
24.
21.
23. It's close.
He's 23 already?
24
Wow.
in March.
Is this his 5th year? Do you have has he used his COVID year as well?
I will find it in 1 second.
I love North Carolina power forwards. He's a new Tyler Hansbrough, basically.
Yeah.
Guy has no NBA future who's awesome in college.
I bet he's making a ton of money now, too. Unlike Hansbrough. Well, maybe Hansbrough was, too.
Well, the surprising thing is that he hasn't transferred yet. Like most of these kids, if you go this deep into your college career, you're playing for some other school. But this is now 5 years at one school. I know it's North
Chapel
Carolina,
Hill's
but people
beautiful.
transfer from everywhere.
Maybe you feel like, I can make a living for the rest of my life just being a former Tar Heels champion.
Well,
he's going to be a forever Chapel Hill legend.
will he even make an NBA roster? I mean, he's
Everybody
second
makes
round
an
pick.
NBA roster.
Yeah,
at some
I know.
point.
But he's like a second round pick, so I get it. I would stay too.
He is in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And you're right, EJ. At one school, that's crazy.
And probably he may get a 6th. Who knows? We see with the crazy eligibility rules. I wouldn't be surprised if he's suiting up again next year.
The player coach.
First player coach in college basketball history.
The Baltimore Ravens have a meaningless game on Saturday, having wrapped up the number 1 seed in the AFC, and OBJ not surprised by that.
Nah, fellas, this is a good-ass feeling, man. This is probably the best team. This is the best team I've ever been on from the top to the bottom. We set ourselves up for success. You know what I mean? It's got to come through the bank in these black and purple unis. Go through this defense. This offense is crazy, man. Everything's right in front of us, so let's go ahead. Keep preparing. Y'all enjoy this moment.
Maggie heard my favorite part, all the ooh.
It's like, what?
It's like a magic trick was happening.
The doves came out of his hat, all right, as he said it. It was like, wow.
And this woman just completely disappeared into this
We sawed her in half, and now she's here at the
John
bank.
Harbaugh's in 2 pieces in the middle.
Look at that. Oh.
I guess the Rams weren't that good.
No, I guess winning the Super Bowl with you watching with a torn ACL disqualifies you from this competition.
I'm going to tell you that also really pokes a lot of holes in Perloff's Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer argument. Beckham just said.
That's happening for sure. By the way, that Rams team was not as good as this Ravens team. This Ravens team would kill that Rams team.
You know what's interesting, too, to me is that, remember, didn't Odell jump on the bandwagon of that team like late into the season?
He got cut.
Like he kind of mentioned like, oh, I've seen this growing from the beginning, so like I see the growth. Like he hasn't seen the full grind. He's never seen it. He's only jumped onto a team and he helped the Rams win that Super Bowl. He was awesome. But like I kind of understood this because no, he didn't go through a training camp, a mini camp with a team that built their way to a Super Bowl. He jumped on mid-season.
I get it. I'm just saying that Rams team, how many
That
Hall
Rams
of
team,
Famers could they possibly have on that team? You're
that
talking
was
about
a thin Super Bowl team. Do you
Okay,
really think
but
that was a good Super Bowl team?
You think that Matthew Stafford could be a Hall of Famer? We know Aaron Donald's going to walk in. It's possible that Jalen Ramsey, if he can stay healthy, might have a shot at the Hall of Fame. Cooper Kupp, I don't know. The Hall of Very Good. He was the MVP of the Super Bowl. I mean, we're talking about, does Andrew Whitworth get into the Hall of Fame as a tackle?
Probably.
Probably.
I mean, come on. That Rams team got lucky.
Sean McVay will get in as a Hall of Fame head coach, I bet.
We said Jalen Ramsey, right? Yeah.
Jacuzzi Tart catches that football. San Francisco beats them, and then they got lucky to beat the Bengals, and they kind of got lucky to beat the Bucks. That was that. They
but no one's going to remember that. I mean,
it was not a great Super
They were
Bowl team.
crushing the Bucks in that game, though. I think it's
Yeah,
unfair to
but
say
they
they came
allowed the
by.
comeback, but it was to Tom Brady.
It was 28-28 with 2 minutes left.
Brady's made it. His whole career was like, those kind of comebacks for Brady were almost commonplace.
I feel like basically that team, Aaron Donald, who's toward the end of his career, basically lifted them at the last second to a Super Bowl win. That was not a great team by any means.
But he's an all-time great player.
They became the losingest Super Bowl winner the next year.
Because they gave up everybody.
This Ravens team is obviously firing on all cylinders. There's nothing like the Rams team. I mean, they're 14 and you're going to be 14-3 or 13-4. I don't think this.
It's just weird. I mean, I just feel like at that time we talked about that Rams team as a super team. I mean, now
also,
you're saying they're not.
I'm
they're
sorry,
not that talented.
we forgot the other person who was on that team, Von Miller, who's going to be going to the Hall of Fame also.
So Leonard Floyd pretty
the
good
ghost
too.
of Von
Leonard
Miller.
Floyd is
Von Miller had 5 sacks in 8 games. He played for them.
No, he was good.
Yeah.
Now he's bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see that Rams defense against this Ravens team. I just don't know if the Rams would score points against these Ravens.
This Ravens defense is awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm telling
They're
you,
killing
go
everybody.
Hall of Famer for Hall of Famer. It might
I mean, that
be
was
close.
It is surprising to look at that Rams offense and see how much it was just Cooper Cup or bust.
Yeah.
To Perloff's point.
They
It's
were
like,
12 and-
Odell was good in the playoffs.
and then he got hurt, right.
They're 12-5. I mean, it was they did win the Super Bowl, but I think they had one of the smallest margins of victory throughout their playoff run. It definitely was not a super team. This Ravens team is a strong number 1 in the AFC. The Rams definitely were not.
It's not a super team, though.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to get carried away with Zay Flowers as a rookie wide receiver and stuff like that. It's not a super team.
Wait,
Isaiah Likely?
I know you guys are arguing to play devil's advocate, but you think that Rams team was better than this Ravens team?
Well, I think this Ravens team needs to do something in January.
Oh, yeah, it's
Think about
inconclusive right now.
This Rams team, this current Rams team, not even that one. This one took the Ravens to overtime in Baltimore.
Bad weather.
It's a pretty close matchup. I don't know if it's a slam dunk. Okay, sorry, Bogus.
That's okay. Other NFL news, the Jets released Dalvin Cook yesterday so he could sign with a contender. Contenders declining comment. The veteran running back got 0 snaps last Thursday in Cleveland averaging just 3.2 yards a carry. Ron Rivera waiting till today, maybe, to name the Commanders' starting QB for Sunday with the Cowboys. Sam Howell played again last week because Jacoby Brissett hurt his hamstring during practice during the week. And Panthers owner David Tepper fined $300,000 for throwing a drink at Jaguar fans Sunday. That's like fining Maggie 1 penny for spelling curse words on the radio.
That hurt.
And we finish on ice where our San Jose Sharks are losing again. Now 9 in a row thanks to a 5-3 home defeat at the hands of the Red Wings. Guys, back to you.
Man, we really got to get some energy behind these Sharks. We've been neglecting them. We were all on vacation. We let it go by the wayside, and now they're stinking again.
Yep.
How did Joe Thornton do for them? Is he still there?
Yeah.
By the way,
sure.
How are you going to make that anti-Matthew Stafford Hall of Fame argument when they win their first-round playoff game against the Lions or whoever? I mean, Stafford's a fire right now.
You think that winning in the wild card round is going to help the
I'm
Hall of
starting
Fame
the
cast?
Stafford Hall of Fame conversation.
All my money, my entire will is going to be to you guys if Matthew Stafford's not a Hall of Famer. I'm telling you, it's happening.
Yes.
It is 100% happening.
Okay, you're saying
he's about
it will
to throw for
happen.
4,000 yards again
do you
with
think
a
it should
crappy
happen?
Rams team.
Because
Should happen. I don't deal in shoulds. I don't deal in shoulds.
What do you
I
mean
deal in
you don't deal in
wills.
You shit all over the place.
I think I'm not a should guy. I'm a
Easy
will guy. I'm a will. He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
I'm a
Deal with
will guy.
What's the
We could
difference? Does it
probably
make
do
it a
this
should?
on some kind of like online lawyer, like,
Wait, do you guys? Let's go around the room. Do you think he will be a Hall of Famer? Maggie Gray, Matthew Stafford.
no.
I'll say no, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was.
He should not be. I'll
Definitely
work in
should. He
shoulds.
definitely should not be.
He's very good. He's very, very good.
Yeah, the NFL is good about keeping people out. He's not a Hall of Famer. He's not going to get in.
I don't know what they're going to do with these quarterbacks who have these big numbers, though.
This guy played in a quarterback era where everybody made the Pro Bowl.
I know.
He made one Pro Bowl.
But he played on
his
some.
entire
He
career.
played on some bad.
He was
teams.
a lion. I mean, Calvin Johnson made it first ballot, and people didn't believe
Calvin
me.
Johnson was an All-Pro
Year
every
after
year.
year.
There were a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, Calvin Johnson can't make it. He didn't do anything in the playoffs." And I was like, "Well, he's the best receiver of his era."
Yeah,
Right.
but when was Stafford the best quarterback of anything?
Stafford's likely going to end up number 5 on the all-time passing yard list with a
5
Super Bowl
minutes.
ring.
For
With a
5 minutes, he'll be on
No,
there.
there's no one really that close to him. I mean,
Just
he's
wait.
way
There's
ahead.
an extra game now.
I mean, the guys who are within 20,000 yards of him are Ryan Tannehill, Russell Wilson, and Kirk Cousins.
Okay, but look at the next crop you have coming.
Yeah, I don't know. Passing yards, it might have peaked a couple years ago. I mean, listen, Lamar is going to be the MVP with 3,500 passing yards.
Okay, but you're still going to have Tua. You're still going to have Josh Allen. You're still going to have
Tua.
Mahomes. You're still
Okay,
going to have.
but-
I mean, you have a lot of competition here. Joe Burrow.
I don't know. I just think the ring is going to make a big difference. The numbers are huge. And also, the guy obviously is super talented. No one's questioning because nobody throws a prettier ball than Matthew Stafford. There might be equal pretty balls, but his arm is insane.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Bogish, thank you so much. Well, lot to do because we have not talked about what could be the most impactful NFL game of the weekend. And for yours truly, really going to be sweating this one out. Who's in better position going into the winner-take-all of the AFC East, the Miami Dolphins or the Buffalo Bills? We answer that question next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Genuine kind of morning. Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Mornings here on CBS Sports Radio. And we couldn't talk about it yesterday because we had college football playoff semifinals. That was pressing business. We now have the championship game set. It's going to be Michigan. It's going to be Washington. We talked about that. We have not been able to get to my fears and anxieties surrounding my Buffalo Bills heading into the last week of the season, week 18. I mean, is there anything more perfect in the season of ups and downs for the Buffalo Bills that it would set up for either you beat Miami and win the division and get the second seed, or you lose this game and potentially do not make the playoffs at all? There's no more fitting ending. And while I appreciate that the Bills have made this season a lot more interesting, I don't know how anyone who's watched the Bills thinks that they have like any kind of advantage in this game. Like, the Bills can lose to literally anyone right now. They needed a Kadarius Toney bonehead move to beat the Chiefs. They went down to the wire with the Chargers and Easton Stick. They basically almost lost to the Patriots. who have
Kind
Dude, that was rough. Josh Allen was not dealing with pressure well at all.
I tried to live bet that one. That never came anywhere close, according to Vegas.
Well, Vegas has not been able to handicap the Bills all season.
Let me ask a question. Are you able to handicap the Bills? Did you see this 4-game win streak at the end of the season coming? Because I bet there's some clips where you did not.
No, I definitely did. The day I came in with the Bills shirt on with a big red X through it, no, I did not see it. But if you're asking, how Vegas has not handled the Bills well, they were a 14-point favorite in that Patriots game. I mean, they have these gigantic spreads. They're a 3-point favorite right now against the Miami Dolphins in Miami. And that
only speaks to the fact that they let the Chargers and the Patriots hang around. There's no way the Dolphins are winning this game. The Bills are so desperate, and that's why they've won these 4 games. Desperate wins. It didn't work for me on the dating scene, but it wins in the NFL. I don't know anyone except you and maybe EJ who are worried about the Dolphins in this game. Everybody seems to think the Bills are going to win.
But everybody maybe isn't watching the Bills as closely. They just see, they have a healthy quarterback and Josh Allen is good and therefore they should win. Meanwhile, the defense has actually been closing out these games for them in this winning streak. The other thing, too, is it's like people think Miami doesn't have anything to play for. That's not right at all. Yes, they've clinched a playoff spot, but would you rather win the AFC East and get a home game, or would you rather have to go on the road and play the Kansas City Chiefs? No, thank you.
The lasting image of Miami is Bradley Chubb getting carted off when he shouldn't have been on the field. And so Chubb and Jalen Phillips are out. Xavier Howard's probably not playing. This is just a beat-up Miami team. And Josh Allen, I know he hasn't played well. He's not throwing the ball well.
No.
But he's going to run like crazy because everything's on the line here. Nothing to lose.
He runs like crazy. They could still lose. I mean, that's not necessarily a formula here.
I don't know. Also, are the Dolphins really going to play Waddle, who can't seem to get through a quarter without limping to the sideline? I think the Dolphins try in the first quarter, maybe the first half, but I don't see them having fight this whole game.
Oh, I disagree. I think they're looking at this not just as, hey, we have a shot here to, avenge a loss earlier in the season against the Bills where they got smoked in Buffalo. That was a long time ago. That was back in September. But also, I think the Miami Dolphins are embarrassed right now. And that's a dangerous type of team to have to play, right? You just got blown out by the Ravens in a game that was barely competitive. And add on top of that, your head coach either allowed a player to convince him to stay on the field in garbage time or whatever, and essentially got that player hurt. Like, I think that's probably how he's feeling. He said he's sick to his stomach, Mike McDaniel, about the fact that Chubb was playing meaningless garbage time and now has torn his ACL. So you have a team that just got blown out. They're embarrassed. They're feeling the haters. The coach is embarrassed. Like, this is a terrible recipe. You're saying the Bills might be more desperate, but the Dolphins are embarrassed. That is not a team you want to play.
I just think the one problem with the Dolphins is that they're not a very good football team, and they cannot. I know they beat the Cowboys because they haven't beaten anybody. They did beat the Cowboys, who may or may not have been out in Miami. I believe that game was in Miami the night before. Yeah, because they're terrible against good teams. I mean, they're like the Cowboys on steroids. They cannot beat good teams.
Yeah, but
they barely even show up in a lot of these games. They had no chance against Baltimore. I don't know what you've seen. Like, which games of Miami are really scaring you? Nothing. Obviously, any good defensive coordinator, just stay back and do not let Tyreek Hill run past your safeties, and you're going to beat the Dolphins.
Okay, but that was the formula for many years when Tyreek Hill was in Kansas City, and he beat the brakes off the Bills.
I mean, the Bills destroyed the Dolphins earlier, right? They're not. The Dolphins are way overrated. They're not winning a playoff game, and they're not winning this game.
You always say really hard to beat a team twice.
Really hard to beat him 3 times. That's what I say.
Now we're amending it. Maggie and Perloff, how do you see this? Miami, Buffalo, who you got? 855-212-4CBS.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's destined to get knocked out by Jake Paul. She's destined to film it. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Two number one overall seeds set in the NFL. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. New morning show here on CBS Sports Radio. So you've got these two teams locked in, Perloff. You've got the San Francisco 49ers locked into their one seed. You've got the Baltimore Ravens locked in on their one seed.
Right.
And these are two great teams. There might just be two great teams in the NFL this year, and that might be it.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me, who do I have more confidence in that they are going to come out of their respective conference and go to the Super Bowl, it's the Baltimore Ravens. Even though San Francisco is a great team, I think there is no one playing better than the Ravens right now. That win in San Francisco, I think, did a lot to convince me. I know it's just one game, but did a lot to convince me. And when you look at the AFC, and this was supposed to be the juggernaut of quarterbacks, right? And look how things have broken very right for the Ravens. You have a Chiefs team with the offense does not look anywhere close to what we're expect from normal Chiefs teams. You've got Buffalo's not even in right now, so that you have a good quarterback who might be on the outside looking in.
Definitely.
You've got Tua, who has a decimated team around him. We were just talking about that winner-take-all AFC East showdown on Sunday night. You're dealing with a Trevor Lawrence who's been hurt all season long. Joe Flacco with the Cleveland Browns. You're not winning that off the quarterback. You're winning that off the defense. And then Indy, Houston, Pittsburgh, none of these quarterbacks this year are really scaring the daylights out of me.
I am not going to stand for this Joe Flacco slander. But I totally understand what you're saying. But counter argument, who's going into San Francisco and not only beating the Niners, but coming close to the Niners? The Cowboys? Remember the last time they went to San Francisco? The Eagles? Remember them when they hosted the Niners? I don't even know. The Lions, I don't even know if the Lions win their first playoff game. I just think that the NFC is actually, even with all those quarterbacks hurt, worse than the AFC. There's one dangerous team. It's probably the Dallas Cowboys. But you trust the Dallas Cowboys and Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott in the playoffs, especially against that Niners team?
Okay.
Does history not teach you anything, Maggie?
Okay, well, I would not feel confident if I was the Dallas Cowboys having to go into San Francisco. However, this is the one thing. Of course, if anyone gets hurt, it's going to change things.
Right.
But if you're the 49ers, like, if anyone gets hurt, I don't know if they can win. It's not just, if the quarterback gets hurt, we can't win. I don't know if you can win if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt. I don't know if you can win if Debo gets hurt. I don't know if you can win if any single person gets injured in a game. Yeah. I think the house of cards kind of falls apart here for San Francisco. For the Ravens, it's just Lamar. That's
not a fair argument because it's absolutely not true. The Ravens, the last 3 seasons, have gotten hurt, and it's Ronnie Stanley, too. It's not just Lamar. They've had injuries have derailed the Ravens every single postseason. The Niners, meanwhile, are basically punching their ticket in the NFC Championship game every season, even with these injuries. And I don't think the Niners have unleashed all their weapons. It hasn't been Debo time.
More?
I think you're going to see Debo Samuel take over this team. They have not even used him that much. I think there is just so much. Yeah, I think the Niners honestly they're playing it kind of cool right now. I think come playoff time, they are going to run all over people. And listen, who's their MVP? McCaffrey?
I think so.
Yeah, but if you were telling me you can run Elijah Mitchell at the Cowboys or at the Eagles or at the Lions, I think they can survive in McCaffrey. Honestly, Debo being out really killed them in that 3-game losing streak.
And Trent Williams, yeah.
And Trent Williams, but they rest those guys. They're going in healthy. I just feel like I honestly feel like both teams are making the Super Bowl, but I think the Niners are more certain. I just don't see any NFC team who can even really get close in San Francisco.
So the question is, which team has the better shot or is the better bet to come out of their conference? Is it the Ravens? Is it the San Francisco 49ers? Can I give you another area why I'd pick the Ravens here that might get a little uncomfortable for people? Who really wins the coaching matchup in a playoff game?
I mean, Shanahan.
Are you sure?
No, but I mean, the guys, how many playoff wins does he have?
How many Super Bowls does John Harbaugh have? Like, here's the thing. I've seen the Ravens do it with, right, and how many does Shanahan have? 0. So I've seen in big games, like, part of the reason, and I don't know if San Francisco 49er fans care about this or if they don't or if they're hanging on to it, if they're not. I can't speak for them. But Kyle Shanahan has to take some accountability for Brock Purdy getting hurt in that NFC Championship game last year. It was ridiculous that they were trying to block Hassan Reddick with a tight end, with a backup tight end.
Oh,
it was crazy that happened, and that was the moment when things really fell apart. Now, Josh Johnson comes in. Maybe he still had a shot. He gets hurt, and by the end, it was dead man walking for the 49ers. There are times when Kyle Shanahan granted, he gets to the big moment, but then when push comes to shove, what happens? And so if you're asking me who the coaching advantage goes to, how do you not give it to the guy who's actually won a Super Bowl?
You're pointing to one play in the NFC title game.
Well, do you want to talk about the Falcons Super Bowl? Do you want to talk about the 49ers Super Bowl against the Chiefs? We can keep going.
Yeah, do you want to talk about the fact that he got Jimmy Garoppolo to a Super Bowl?
Okay, and a 10-point lead and couldn't hold it in the fourth quarter.
Do you want to talk about the fact that, who lost to the Rams team? We were just talking about that game earlier. Was that Jimmy G too?
It was Jimmy G, yeah.
Yeah, so he took an average quarterback, and I'm sorry, Brock Purdy's playing way better than Jimmy G ever did, and got there. He is a great coach.
Okay,
he's an unbelievable
chose
coach.
Jimmy G. Okay, that was a choice that I don't think John Lynch was making that decision in a vacuum, because the story is Bill Belichick called Kyle Shanahan and said, I will give you Jimmy Garoppolo for a second-round pick. Could have gotten a first-round pick from the Cleveland Browns. Didn't want to do it. Sent Jimmy all the way to the 49ers. And if you read some reports, they said no to Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So Kyle Shanahan has to wear all of this.
I think, you know how people are now saying that Bill Belichick's success was because of Tom Brady?
Well, those people are short-sighted, but yes, I know what they're saying.
I think Baltimore's playoff success is because of Joe Flacco, not John Harbaugh. Because what has Harbaugh won in the playoffs since Flacco left?
Well,
nothing. When's the last time he won a playoff? He was won one playoff game in 8 years. You can't say that he's a great playoff coach.
But does he actually have the hardware? Yes, he does.
He is not. Okay.
John Harbaugh has been a very good coach. If we want to give Mike Tomlin credit for non-losing seasons, I mean, he lost his quarterback the last 3 years in a row at the end of the year.
Yeah, I know, because you're talking about exposing your quarterback, because he lets him get hit about 45 times a game. So you can't tell me that Kyle Shanahan is a bad coach because Brock Purdy got hit by Hassan Reddick, and then say that John Harbaugh is a genius, even though he lets Lamar Jackson get exposed on every single play.
No, but even after Lamar got hurt, they made the playoffs with Snoop Huntley. Like, it's the fact that they were even in the playoffs for the Ravens last year was basically a miracle. And I think I can put it on Shanahan, because you knew the Philadelphia Eagles were going to bring major, major pressure. And the fact is, you left your guy exposed there. I mean, Lamar, that was like a whole system
Let me ask you this.
that they created for Lamar to run. And yeah, they had to change it.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you had an NFL franchise, you got super rich, hit the lottery, invested right, or even take your Buffalo Bills, and I gave you two coaches in front of you, John Harbaugh or Kyle Shanahan, who would you want?
I mean, for the sake of this argument, I would say John Harbaugh. Listen, you know what I'm saying, right? Do you know that this is more about Kyle Shanahan having some very high-profile blunders in the postseason?
Right, because he's won a lot of playoff games and gotten to very high-profile games. We're talking about getting to the Super Bowl. This feels like a Kyle Shanahan path. Now, if we're talking about the big game, who's got the advantage? Yeah, I could agree with you there that John Harbaugh might have a slight advantage over Kyle Shanahan, a little more poise. But getting to the Super Bowl, I mean, or winning playoff games, I think Shanahan's more of a sure thing than Harbaugh.
Okay, it's also, I think, been tougher in the AFC for Lamar than it has been in the NFC.
He lost to the Titans, and he lost to sort of an underdeveloped Bills team. That was not.
Well, that was in Buffalo.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
he got concussed.
San Francisco's been a lot of good teams in the playoffs too. They beat a good Cowboys team. They beat who
the
else?
Packers.
Did they beat? Yeah, it hasn't been easy for them either.
It has not been easy, but it's just not the juggernaut of quarterbacks in the AFC, which is why I actually will give the
Ryan
nod
Tannehill
to the Ravens right now. Actually, well, you're really being Derrick Henry, but I would give the nod to the Ravens right now because, for the most part, all these really incredible quarterbacks in the AFC, I've got warts on everybody. You know, I can look and say, when are you going to get a down Chiefs offense ever again? You don't think they're fixing this in the offseason? Get them now, because Mahomes is not going to look like this next year. Tua, again, has all the injuries with the Dolphins. The Bills aren't even in yet. And you're telling me, banged up Trevor Lawrence, Joe Flacco, maybe Gardner Minshew. We could be talking about rookies, starting playoff games here when it comes to C.J. Stroud or Mason Rudolph.
And who scares you in the NFC?
Listen.
How about them?
Listen.
How about the Cowboys?
How about I picked the Cowboys as my Super Bowl pick, so I guess I have to stick with them. You're the one who's talking up Matthew Stafford like crazy.
By the way, Isn't it funny?
I
Buffalo's sitting there in the AFC everyone loves, and nobody wants to see the Rams in the NFC. So it's funny.
At least the Rams are already in.
Yeah.
Buffalo's not in yet.
I just think it's funny. Those are the two hottest teams right now, or the scariest teams. We're just arguing for argument's sake here because now you've convinced me Baltimore's getting in, and
I think they are.
San Francisco's getting in.
San Francisco is getting...
I mean, obviously...
Here's the thing. At some point, don't the Cowboys have to win? At some point. At some point. And also, again, I will go to this. If one person gets hurt on that 49ers offense, I think it all goes away.
Which one? No, I disagree.
I was going to say real quickly, I feel like the Cowboys getting blown out by the Niners may have been the best result that could have happened to them other than beating them. Because I think now they come into that game with an entirely different strategy. This idea that you could do what you did 2 or 3 months ago and beat San Francisco, they know that's not going to happen. I saw this with the Jets and the Patriots when they got blown out by 40 points in Foxborough, and then a couple months later, they beat them on the road. I don't think that there's this idea that there's no chance that the Cowboys can compete. I look at those rosters. I don't think that there's this big gap between both teams. I think that was more of an anomaly. We watched the two teams play in the playoffs 2 years in a row. Those were nail biters. Yeah. Those were not these blowout kind of games. So I think that's more of what these teams are like as opposed to that blowout we saw earlier on Sunday Night Football.
Perfect point.
I agree with that.
It has been close games in the playoffs, and why wouldn't we think it'd be close again?
One thing, though, I also agree. Baltimore blew out San Francisco, but San Francisco was outgaining them tremendously in the first half. I think that game will be totally different the second time. I can stop the Cowboys, though. I mean, you have to be a 7th grader can look at that Cowboys offense and say triple team CeeDee Lamb, and you're going to beat the Cowboys. They are so dependent on that dude that it scares me. If the Cowboys beat the Niners and I A, lose this argument, and B, my hated rival gets to the Super Bowl, I'm not even going to Vegas for the Super Bowl. I'm going to be so depressed.
You have to go. We're contractually obligated to go.
I'm so depressed if the Cowboys win this year. And the fact that they got the 2 seed because of a bad call in the Detroit game makes me think, I think the Rams are going to be super dangerous if they ever get to the Cowboys. That game is going to be epic. You know that's going to come down to Mike McCarthy and Sean McVay.
Well, Sean McVay, for the innovator that he isn't exactly Mr. In-game situational football genius.
Somebody's going to screw that up massively. I can't wait. There's going to be something that happens in the playoffs where the Cowboys is going to come down to a call or a bad coaching decision. Yeah, I agree. They're the biggest threat to the Niners, but they are a wild team come postseason.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. All right, who is the better bet to come out of their conference? Is it the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl? Is it the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl? And then on top of that, is it conceivable at all that Dallas actually could beat the 49ers this year in the postseason?
My threat to the Ravens is Kansas City still. I mean, listen, at a certain point...
It's kind of a lifetime achievement award, don't you think, for Kansas City? I mean, they are not a good team right now. Not a good offense.
There's just one thing missing. There's one, and they just can't catch the ball.
Seems like a really big problem. I mean, seems like at least a medium-sized problem. John is in Western New York, has got a thought on the Steelers who, listen, right here on the cusp of playoff berth. Hi, John. How are you?
I'm doing good, guys. Happy New Year's. I just want to talk about you mentioned the Browns, and I have to, as a Steeler fan, and I know if there's Steeler fans out there, they're going to sit there and shake my head because I got to tip my hat to the Browns because they probably saved the Steelers season. Wide receivers catch the ball, running backs run the ball, and quarterbacks throw the ball. That's their primary function. And when you confuse a secondary function, and I'm talking about quarterbacks running with the ball, everybody gets all excited about it. But the bottom line is that if you cannot stretch the field, you do not stretch the defense.
Okay.
So what happened with the Browns is they were stumbling and bumbling along with the 2 running quarterbacks that they had, and they got some injuries. And finally, they brought Joe Flacco in, and all you heard is they loved the ball that Joe Flacco threw. Sure. Well, basically what happened is the Browns' offensive line, which is above probably one of the top offensive lines, they protected him. And guess what? He doesn't have to run with the ball. And
he can't. Also, I mean, Joe Flacco.
It doesn't. I agree with you.
Yeah.
He can't. Well, and Mason Rudolph isn't no speed queen either. So the whole point is that if you've seen the last 2 games with the Steelers, all of a sudden they're throwing the ball downfield.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they're getting yardage. Well, guess what that's doing for the running backs? That's opening up the lanes because guess who can't cheat anymore? The safeties.
Sure.
So, I disagree with you, Maggie, and my mother's maiden name is Gray. So I just got to disagree with you about the Browns. I think you've got it right with the two teams that are most favored to go to the Super Bowl. But I think of the two teams, the one team outside of those that can probably give that the leading team in the conference, yes, is going to be the Browns. They've got the defense.
They've got the defense, John. That's where you might give them the edge. Thank you so much for the call. They've got the defense. They've got the familiarity, right? Division rivals, those can go any which way. I just think when push comes to shove, haven't we seen this a lot in the playoffs where at some point your quarterback is going to have to make a play? And I know Flacco has looked good and rejuvenated now, but this is against the Jags, the Bears, the Texans without C.J. Stroud, the Jets. I mean, that Cleveland defense is for real, but...
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we're going to see some history repeating itself. Joe Flacco is going to throw a lot of footballs to the Ravens in the postseason. I mean, Joe Flacco's been an interception machine with Cleveland. Cleveland's just so good; they've been able to cover up against these bad teams. One thing I don't think Pittsburgh saved their season at all. In fact, I think they're going to probably win against the Ravens backup, and I think the Bills are going to win, and the Steelers are not going to make the playoffs, and they're going to be kicking themselves for not playing Mason Rudolph. They blew it. They were 9-4. They blew such a golden opportunity this year. They have T.J. Watt in his prime, and Mike Tomlin made the dumbest mistake. That caller was exactly right. Mitchell Trubisky was such a non-threat that it just made the whole offense inept. I am so mad. They're my Super Bowl pick, but I'm so mad. This was such a great year with all those injuries, and they just completely just let it go by playing Mitchell Trubisky.
So I guess here's the question, because I really honestly want to know. Like, the coaching staff's in the building every day.
Yeah.
They're watching Trubisky, and they're watching Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph, who's been with them for years at this point. Like, why do you think they went with Trubisky over Rudolph? When Rudolph seems to not just be able to push the ball down the field, but that's obviously having a positive effect on the offense. Guys seem a lot happier. You got these diva wide receivers. You got guys who have been upset all year. Najee Harris not exactly, there's been criticism all around of the offense. And meanwhile, Mason Rudolph is going to solve all the problems? Like, they had to know this, right?
How
do you not know?
I don't understand.
Then,
the average
if you're going to criticize Tomlin, though, that's another thing to criticize him about. Sticking with Matt Canada, going to the wrong quarterback.
Big time. I mean, listen, again, he has I think a few weeks ago, some people in this building, EJ, said that Mike Tomlin's not going to get his winning record. That's inevitable. That's like Thanos, EJ. You know that Mike Tomlin is going to win. So I do give him credit for actually pulling out the end of the season. If they win this game, you're going to feel okay in Pittsburgh. You're not going to make the playoffs, and you're going to just look at this season and say, wow, we really had a chance. Now, we're going to get into later in the show. There's some big questions moving forward.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett addressing the media yesterday. We have that audio for you. Pickett having to defend his character against a report that he is calling erroneous, that he refused to dress to be the backup for Mason Rudolph last week. We have all those details for you. It has become a very interesting situation in Pittsburgh for now and for the future. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Vegas. NFL playoffs all the way to Sin City.
Listen to CBS Sports Radio 24/7.
Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We're back here on Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio. So Nick Saban and I don't have a lot in common. You know, hard scrabbled, lifetime football coach, and me.
And you?
Not same.
No.
But I have never related to the football coach more than what I read about he did after the loss to Michigan on Monday. So he lost heartbreaking fashion overtime. Last play, we won't even get into whatever they called or whatever Jalen Milroe did.
Yeah.
Gets home, and Terry, his famous wife, Terry, is sitting there, and she says, you want to watch the Washington-Texas game? And he says, no, I get that. After my Eagles lose, I don't want to watch any more football. I want to watch something totally different. So the Saban family went to Netflix.
Okay, and the palate cleanser, according to Miss Terry, is some kind of Turkish television show that the Sabans are watching that has subtitles.
Was it a television show or a movie? I was a little confused on that. But
I think it doesn't matter anymore. Movie, TV show, it's all just rolling into the next thing.
I'm not quite sure how the Turkish entertainment system works.
Well, I got the top 10 shows, Turkish TV shows that are currently on Netflix.
Okay.
Which one of these do we think this is that they're watching? Is it a show called Ethos, which is set in Istanbul, where the protagonist works as a cleaner who doesn't have the best health and finds herself fainting and has to go to a psychologist?
What?
Maybe that's what they're watching.
Is she a spy? Does she kill people? What? I don't understand.
How would you be a spy?
That sounds like the most depressing show. It's a cleaner who is having problems, she's taking in too many noxious fumes and has to go. That's a show?
Well, the show delves deeper into contemporary Turkish society. You don't think that the Sabans would be into something like that?
Knowing Netflix, that person has to turn out to work for some secret agency and kill people. Otherwise, why would anyone watch it?
Okay, maybe it's a show called The Gift.
Okay, I'm into The Gift. Is this a supernatural gift?
No, it's someone who, it's about a painter and a teacher. In the midst of one of her art shows, an archaeologist discovers an artifact that has the exact same symbol that the painter has been drawing for years.
All right, now we're talking.
Da Vinci Code, something.
Little fantasy, a little sci-fi, and the end of the apocalypse is coming, I assume?
Well, they don't say anything about the apocalypse. That's every show you watch. Finally, The Tailor. This one is packed full of drama, juicy and gossipy. A Turkish tailor's been hired to make a wedding dress for his best friend's fiance, but as he takes on the job, many secrets are about to be uncovered.
That does not sound like a Nick Saban show. The tailor. There's a movie recently where there was a guy. Oh gosh, there was a guy who was a tailor who turned out to be a former mafia guy who kills everybody. Does this tailor kill everybody?
I don't think Jason Statham is in this one, no. But why you'd like it is because it's unconventional and it keeps audiences wanting more, according to this recap.
I think it's got to be The Gift.
I think it's The Gift.
Can we get to the Saban family and find out what they were watching?
We only
it's
have
not
one.
It's not going to be The Tailor.
It's only one question we can ask Nick Saban for the rest of our lives, and it's what Turkish television show were you watching on Netflix?
That would pretty much be it. I would want to know for Bill Belichick, why didn't you play Malcolm Butler? For Nick Saban, what was the Turkish television show?
By the way, it's a lie, right, that he didn't watch the other game.
No, I don't think he did. Why would he watch Washington, Texas?
Because he's addicted to football, because he's a football coach for 50 years.
Every player and coach I know, they hate watching football. Unless they have to do it's their
Not
work.
Coaches.
Or it's
They
Belichick.
do not like watching football.
Pete, what'd you say, Belichick?
Or it's Belichick.
You don't think he watches football?
I think Belichick watches football a lot. He's a football. He's said it. He's a football junkie.
And I think Saban and Belichick are basically the two same people. Just one coach is pro and one coach is college.
I don't think they are are completely the same. I think in that regard, I can see Saban going fly fishing before watching another game.
I don't think so. But we can believe he's watching a Turkish TV show.
I think everything they do is for strategic purpose. There's no strategic purpose for him to watch Washington, Texas.
Well, transfer portal. Here's the other thing. Can I just say one thing I've discovered later in my life that I love? So I'm 40. And one thing that the only way I can watch TV is with subtitles. Like for English.
Same.
Bogus just looked at me like,
no, I'm the same way.
Sometimes you have to.
Yeah, exactly. It's so much more enjoyable to watch like whatever you're watching with the subtitles.
Yeah,
give it a shot, Bogish. I'm telling you. I can't hear Jack. Maybe it's me.
And the amount of dialogue you get from movies now that you won't pick up on if you watch them. There are now movie theaters in the city. There's probably movie theaters everywhere where they will play movies with closed captions. And I try to go to them. They don't play every movie, but if I can get a movie I want to see and they're playing closed caption, give it to me. Because I had to watch The Batman in a bad movie theater the first time. I didn't know what anybody was saying for the entire movie, and it screwed me
Nolan
up.
Is killing everybody because I can't hear anything and I can't see anything.
Yeah.
Because everything's so dark nowadays. Like when I used to watch Game of Thrones, I had no idea what was literally happening on the screen because everything is just dark.
Game of Thrones is a big one, too, because they say a lot of random names like, Varys and
I still don't know all those characters.
The Lord Farquaad or whatever. Like, that's a Shrek character. And like, I'm like, oh, who's that? But like, you see the names, you kind of start to pick up on who the people are. So yeah, Game of Thrones was one I had to have subtitles on.
It might need a producer narration for that show too.
Well, the other part too is that I like when you have the music that they play in the intro, they'll actually give you what the song title is, and sometimes that's a clue. Whatever the song name is can be like a clue sometimes to what's about to happen. So, am I old?
I don't know.
Old, right? EJ's not old.
I'm 32 and I do this, so yeah, I'm all on board.
Bogish is like, you're over the hill.
Yeah. No, I think everybody now watches with captions. I don't even know how to turn mine off. I have no idea.
It's just on forever.
But especially the Amazon Prime game, I'm always trying to take a screenshot of something that happened on the field, and I can't get the captions to go. Hey, Oppenheimer.
Still haven't seen it.
Saw it over the break. Not all that. What
Really?
What was the deal? I mean, it was okay.
Do you think it got a bump because it got released with Barbie?
Yes, I think Barbie was a way better movie. Oppenheimer, I've seen that movie 50 different times. Red Scare, 50s. It was basically a cliche, in my opinion.
Wow. So same Cold War
type it's the
of
same.
movie.
Oh, gosh. Oh, the Russians are coming. Yeah, you've seen this movie 100 times.
Well, movie I did see that I don't think I've seen 100 times that was great. Iron Claw. Really good movie.
Okay, but that's
I can't
supposed
wait
to
to
be
see
really
Devon
depressing,
Eriks.
no?
It is depressing.
Why did that get panned?
Good.
It looks amazing.
Oh, it's awesome. Who panned it? I saw pretty good ratings.
The only pan I saw was the guy that played Ric Flair.
He was awful.
That was the worst part of the movie.
That was bad.
Okay. But this is like a very deeply tragic story that's true, no?
Yes.
Can you give me a synopsis of this?
Yeah, essentially, the Von Erichs, they were a wrestling family in Texas, and they were basically Texas wrestling royalty.
Right.
And due to a lot of factors, drugs, overbearing dad, pressures of the industry, a lot of them died.
Tragic ending.
Yes, a lot of them had very tragic endings. It's actually insane how many of them died in the ways that they did.
And how many brothers were there?
I think in total there were, I believe, 5, but in this movie they only highlight 4.
Okay.
Like one just doesn't exist in this movie, and that brother also tragically died.
Oh my God.
Which is crazy. But they highlight the 4 and the major 4 that most people kind of know, and it is
Okay, so here's the question though. You leave the movie theater. Is this like one of those things where you have to go sit in a dark room by yourself for a little bit and just sort of like you don't want to be around people? You've seen these kind of movies like Requiem for a Dream. It's just like I don't really want to talk to anybody. Like the first episode of Black Mirror. Yeah. It's like I got to sit by myself for a while.
I think they end the movie in a way that gives you hope for the remaining family.
Okay.
You know,
by the way, have you watched?
It's tough though. It's almost right up into the end. It's tragic.
You got to be in the mood for something like that.
Have you watched the interviews with the surviving guy?
Yes.
You know, he lives in Hawaii and is living this incredibly peaceful life.
Oh, good.
And his sons wrestle.
Yep.
Oh boy, they can't quit the business.
You know, when I was a kid, I used to buy wrestling magazines. I was such a dork. And I always,
I think you just offended half the people on this show.
No, but the thing about
I ride my backpack.
I watched WWE all the time, but then I would read about these other regional wrestling leagues. There was the Florida League, and they were insane.
Yeah.
And then I would read about the Southwest and Dusty Rhodes and the Von Erichs, and these were these mysterious people that were never on TV, that were all jacked up on steroids and huge. So I was always fascinated with the Von Erichs, but they weren't on TV where I was.
Wait, but you guys also The Wrestler, right, with Mickey Rourke?
Yeah.
I mean, that was incredibly depressing.
Oh, that was awful. Life is Beautiful with Roberto Benigni. If you didn't walk out of that theater and feel bad about life.
Well, that's a Holocaust movie, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
The type of movie where you have to go sit by yourself.
Sit in a dark room. Yeah. I found that one really hard to talk to people afterwards.
Absolutely.
I wasn't comparing it to The Wrestler. The Wrestler.
I always think these movies, because the dad kind of ends up being a villainous kind of character. I think when you have an obvious foil, that to me at least softens the blow of a depressing movie.
Got it.
It's not just society.
I can push my anger towards something.
Sure.
Sometimes there are movies where it's just like, oh, this is just a sad situation.
Yeah, like Requiem for a Dream. It's like, this is awful to watch. Drug addiction.
Right,
it's
exactly.
terrible, and you
but
just
here
keep
it's like,
descending down
if this person wasn't this way, maybe this wouldn't have happened. So you go from like, okay, it's depressing, but then there's some anger that you can point towards.
Okay.
So for this movie,
two healthy feelings.
Yes.
Depression.
I'll tell you, during Frozen 2, when Olaf went away.
Spoilers.
Did Olaf melt?
Frozen 2, I went to a dark place. I'm with you, Pilati. I'm like, come on, people.
That scene, I was crying. I was next to a kid that was crying, too.
Get her a coat. For the love of God.
Yeah. Come on.
Frozen 2, they honestly, the creators must have been going through a midlife crisis. I don't know what was going on. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Bogus, you got headlines? Can you top this conversation?
The NFL did a couple of meaningless things yesterday. The league fining Panthers owner David Tepper $300,000 for throwing a drink at Jaguar fans Sunday.
Way to get him where it hurts.
Yeah, as Pro Football Talk points out, Tepper apparently worth $20.6 billion. So $300K is 0.00146% of his net worth. So
that'll do it.
Definitely behave better now.
Message received. I think that I think here's the shorthand. If you have your own private plane, I don't know if a monetary fine is going to hit the way it should. Suspend them.
Yeah, but from what?
From attending
being
the
a
game.
jerk in the booth,
From
in the
attending
box.
the game.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you punish an owner other than like hurt the actual football team.
But they suspended Stephen Ross because he was tampering. Like, he couldn't go to the games.
Yeah, and I think that's a hollow thing too. Like, you take draft picks away or whatever, but I mean, they're already in a worst case scenario in Carolina too.
They already gave away their draft picks.
Yeah,
they got bigger problems than in all honesty, than what's going on here.
He's a big part of it, though.
No, he's the problem.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah.
And by the way, suspending him from having to go to those games in Charlotte, and he doesn't even live there. That's
Stay home.
Non-punishment punishment. He doesn't have to beat traffic. I would be thrilled if I was an owner.
But this is like a meteoric rise or fall to worst owners in the game. I mean, he is terrible.
I was talking with Maggie about this. When he came in, he was so set up for success. Had come from the Steelers,
right.
Had all this business success. I had no idea this was coming. I figured he'd be a successful owner off the bat.
It's been dreadful.
Dreadful. And there's no end in sight because he sucks, and those guys usually don't stop sucking. And when your owner sucks, usually the team sucks.
I was going to say, has there been an owner who was really, really awful and then had a turnaround?
Well, I mean, the Ford family with the Lions are doing well now.
Yeah, maybe they're doing well.
Are they? I think it's still the Ford family.
Yeah,
they were the worst owners of all. And the Bengals with Mike Brown, he was kind of floundering, and now they're good.
Well, they got lucky, kind of.
Not really, though. They did start to, they started to go crazy in free agency. Like, they changed their behavior a little bit.
Because he got Burrow. Like, if they're picking second in that draft and not first, do you think that we're getting this Bengals renaissance?
I mean, no, but they changed a lot of things. Like, they had no scout. They were the cheapest team in the league. Then all of a sudden, they started bringing in a lot of talent. Even before Burrow, they made the play. They had a lot of pro. They had A.J. Green and my guy, Andy Dalton. But
maybe George Steinbrenner might have been somebody.
I'd be surprised if they won Mark Davis. I think if he could figure out a winner, we'd be like, oh, I didn't see that coming, right?
No.
The NFL also sending a letter to teams and players yesterday to remind them it is their responsibility to clearly declare themselves as eligible for clever plays like the Lions. The now infamous Brad Allen crew is reportedly working Saturday's Ravens-Steelers game.
Yeah. See, speaking of accountability.
The Warriors needed a win last night, and Steph Curry got it for him.
Curry with the ball. He leads all players in the NBA in clutch scoring. Backs up, shoots over Goga Batasi. He turned away. He was going back up the floor. He knew it was going in. Warriors go up by 7, 104-97.
That's Tim Roy on Warriors Radio. Curry scored or assisted on 13 straight points at one point in the fourth quarter. He finished with 36 as the Dubs put an end to a three-game slog, 121-115 over the Magic. But the best clutch performance last night came from women's college basketball.
Here's Davis out near the timeline. Gets it to Stalky at the top of the key. Has it knocked away, but regathers it. Now to Clark. Step back three at the buzzer. Oh! Not again!
That's Rob Brooks and Tiffany Reedy from Learfield, and Rob with some sympathy for another opponent who had their night ruined by Caitlin Clark. That a step-back buzzer beater from the beak of the Hawk at midcourt. Clark scoring 40 to get fourth-ranked Iowa past Michigan State, 76-73.
It wasn't a clutch performance by the engineer, though.
No, the radio broadcast should get to Caitlin Clark level. Like, she should sound better than the static and the screaming and the overmodulation, which is a Pete favorite.
By the way, who did Steph Curry hit his shot over again?
I don't know. Isn't that a great name? Stand by.
Curry with the ball. He leads all players in the NBA in clutch scoring. Backs up, shoots over Goga Batasi. He turned away. He was going back up the floor. He knew it was going in. Warriors go up by 7, 104-97.
So he's on the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, 6-year pro, Gogo Batasi, averaging 7 points a game. He's a human being I've never heard of until this shot.
Wait, is he Turkish? No, he's from Georgia. For a second, I thought it was going to come full circle with the Sabans watching the Turkish TV show. And he has a guest appearance on The Taylor. No.
Yeah. Goga Batasi, what a name. What a picture on their website.
Yeah. Is that why you picked that highlight? Curry hits a shot over Gogo Batasi. It sounds like a nickname of a guy who, I don't know, drives in a demolition derby or something.
Like a dance you do after hitting a buzzer beater.
You do the Gogo Batasi?
We're playing the 30s.
Wait. We've been looking to start a TikTok dance on the sly. Maybe this is something I thought of one day. I'm like, Perloff and I should start a TikTok dance. Call it the Gogo Batasi.
The Gogo Batasi. I think Gogo Batasi would claim ownership of this.
Well, that's fine. By the time it gets to him, we'll already be famous and rich.
He looks like every cliche about an Eastern European center there ever was.
Including Steph Curry hitting a 3 over him. Hey, the one thing about Caitlin Clark, she hit that wild walk-off winner. That was her, and it was a 40-burger on top of that. She said that's the shot she wants. She's like, and they let me go to the left. I was like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
She's a killer. And then
how do you let her get that shot off?
and she walks off the court. I mean, like she had whatever capacity at that building is, like they're all there to see her, and she hits this shot. She scores 40. Like the entire arena is at her beck and call. She just like walking her, like kind of almost like the Jordan
It's like
shrug.
Dame Lillard.
Are you happy? You guys good? You're welcome. It's amazing. She's ridiculous.
It's crazy. I mean, she and Angel Reese together, I mean, does this do for the WNBA maybe what like Magic and Larry did for the NBA? And I know it's not going to get to the level of the NBA, but like maybe.
And I think she technically could stay in college one more year. I don't think she's going to, but I believe
Make
she hasn't
more money.
used her COVID year yet. Yeah.
Wow.
She'll make way more money staying at Iowa, I bet.
Right now, I believe the Indiana Fever have that #1 pick.
Right.
So maybe, but salary-wise, I bet she probably makes more in NIL from playing for Iowa.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I would think that Indiana, Caitlin Clark, probably a great fit.
Well, it's like a LeBron going to the Cavs.
Yeah.
Right.
And they had the #1 pick last year, and they got Aaliyah Boston.
Right.
And she was the rookie of the year.
Yeah.
So that'd be a pretty sick duo.
Yeah, I do not. I'm nervous to say this, but is Angel Reese the #2?
I was going to say.
I don't know.
She hasn't played a lot this year. It was a weird.
I know.
I mean, we know
eligibility thing.
Yeah, we know Caitlin Clark is going to be a star. I'm looking at a mock draft, and Paige Becker is actually #2. Actually, it doesn't even have Angel Reese coming out, so I don't even know.
Man, it's such a good rivalry, though. But yes, I mean.
Oh, Angel Reese is 8 on this mock draft.
Really?
So,
8?
Yeah, Paige Becker's 2, Aaliyah Edwards. There are a lot of stars. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, that definitely elevated the sport. How can you be excited for the men's Final Four when you have the women's Final Four coming up this year?
It's going to be awesome. 855-212-4CBS Bogus. Thank you so much. Coming up, we've got Jerry Jones talking about that final controversial play between the Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions and so much more. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Talking about the NFL, massive week coming up. We'll get to Jerry Jones's comments in just a moment, but George is in Los Angeles. George, I got to hand it to you, man. You've been consistent all season long talking up the Rams. We kind of dismissed it earlier in the year, and now you've got one of the hotter teams in the NFL, and you clinched a playoff spot. Pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks, Maggie and Perloff. And Perloff's worst nightmare might be coming to fruition. We'll see. They got to play Dallas, or they got to play Philadelphia, or they got to play Detroit. But the thing is, this weekend, I don't think they're going to. There's rumors they might even start, the backup, because it doesn't matter right now. They're 6 or 7. You know what I mean? Right. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, this Ram team is impressive. Now that was a lucky win against the Giants. It could have went either way. But
yeah, that was a little too snug there with Tyrod Taylor with a shot to win it at the end and couldn't do it.
Yeah, it was kind of a bizarre pass he threw. But besides that punt return, we got to tighten up our special teams. But McVay, in the Super Bowl run in 2021, he kind of did this too. They lost 3 in a row, and then they just snapped together and it started coming to fruition. And this team is not the same team they were at the beginning of the year. I know they're really young, but they hit the jackpot on all their draft picks. They got all 14 on them. They kept all 14, which is unusual.
I mean, and none more, George, thank you for the call. Good luck to your Rams than Puka. I mean, it's been incredible and a sensation.
Yeah, and this Kobe Turner kid on the defensive line, it's insane how good he is. Out of nowhere.
Kyron Williams is not a rookie, though, right? Is he a second-year guy?
I think he might be second year. Yeah, it's so they have the 2 receivers, so they have Puka and Cooper, and all of a sudden their defense is stout. I think they're an incredibly dangerous team in the NFC. And George mentioned my worst nightmare. My worst nightmare would have been the Eagles playing the Cowboys in the second round and losing. Now, I'm very relieved that the Eagles look like they can't beat anybody.
Are you getting to the second round?
I'd rather, I'm saying we're not getting the second round. We're not losing in Dallas, so we're fine.
Let's get to our Cowboy Quickie. Jerry Jones talking on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas was asked about the controversial play, the call, illegal touching that cost the Lions the game. Here's his thoughts.
First and foremost, the defensive team is supposed to know. It's clear. who the receiver is eligible that might not have been deemed eligible. That's clear. The rule calls for that. You're supposed to know that if you're playing defense. Anything you do to fuzzy that up can get fuzzied up, and that's what happened.
Okay, but here's the thing. If you ask the Lions, they were clear. And it was really the referees who messed this up, announced the wrong player. So I get why the Lions are still salty about this.
Yes, but Jerry, there is logic to what Jerry says. So when they announced the wrong player, what are the Lions should have said something or done something? I guess that it was too late at that point.
You have no timeouts, but it's an untimed down, right? It's a 2-point conversion. So can you run onto the field? You can't throw a challenge flag because, again, you don't have timeouts, but it's inside of 2 minutes, so all the reviews would be upstairs.
And into a weird procedural... This whole thing, by the way, I never thought about reporting eligible receivers as much as I have in the last week.
Well, when you actually go to a game, it's like rather annoying, actually, how often they announce it basically almost every play.
By the way, no one's talking about the fact that the Detroit Lions had so much faith that their offensive lineman was going to catch the ball in the most crucial play of the season.
Not Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I think that's a little underrated. They have all these stars are like, yeah, our O-lineman has got great hands.
Very Andy Reid. So here's another interesting thing that happened during this interview. They do these weeklies, of course, with Jerry down at 105.7 The Fan, who's a same company. Owned by the same people. I know Sean and RJ, done interviews with them, and they're great guys. The interview was interrupted at one point by some kind of robot speaking French.
The big thing is that we're going to count on Schumann. We're going to count on our depth that we've been building.
Notre correspondant Orange est en ligne.
Are you there? Well. Can we get a translator for that?
What's going on there? Something that sounded French, but they said Italy. So I don't know what happened in there.
What was that?
Was Jerry calling from the yacht in France?
I'm thinking that Jerry probably hightailed it to the yacht.
He's probably in the Riviera right now.
But why? The season's not over.
Well, yeah, but he's got a yacht. I mean, you got to get out to the warm weather.
Okay. You say that like, of course.
So he spends Monday to Friday in the Riviera, then comes back for the game. What do they play, the Commanders?
Okay, but why is Jerry in the Riviera? Like, why not just go there after the season?
I think he goes there after the season, too. Because it's January. You want to get it. It's probably gray in Dallas right now.
You're in the middle of you're about to go. You're won 11 games.
You're an owner. You're not the coach. Actually, I guess he is technically the GM. But I think an owner should be able to go wherever he wants.
I guess he can, but what if something comes up? What if you need him? He's on the French Riviera somewhere. He's in international waters doing what?
Apparently his phone isn't that steady. You're right. That's a good point.
Oh, man. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. It is Wednesday, which means great debate series happens next. Here's a hint. We're talking about college football. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Sports Minute. This is Andrew Perloff.
In the college football playoff semifinal. And that serves as quite the deodorant for what has been a tragic bowl season. The question today, can bowl season be saved? Is it worth saving? And if you're asking me, the answer to that is no. College football is about to go to a 12-team playoff. We essentially are getting a playoff. We're getting a one and done. We're getting the NFL playoffs. And what do you think is going to happen? It's going to keep expanding from there. We know this as sports fans. We see this all the time. The bowls were already irrelevant for a variety of reasons, and they're only going to become more so. We have to face the fact that the bowl system, while lining the pockets of the administrators and the athletic directors and everyone else, except for the players, of course, it is just outdated. It doesn't fit anymore in this college football landscape.
So you're just going to get rid of the bowl games?
Yeah, because I got a playoff now. I don't need it.
So if you're the number 13, there's 12 teams. If you're the number 13 team, your season's over at Thanksgiving?
Well, yeah. Why do I want to even play a bowl at this point? If I'm going to the NFL, then I'm not going to play anyway in a meaningless bowl. Right now, I get no money from any of these games. I get my NIL money, but I'm likely getting that anyway. Where's my incentive? And then because there's no incentive, I am getting a terrible product.
So in the NFL, there are 32 teams.
Yeah.
And 14 make the playoffs. So that's almost 50%. College football, the top 5 conferences have 60-something teams, and you're saying 12, that's enough of a postseason? Everybody's season should just end, and that's ridiculous. So you're saying look at some of the teams that would have made the 12, like LSU and Notre Dame. Like you wanted to see them just end their season basically in Thanksgiving, which is week 10 in the NFL?
Aren't they basically ending the season anyway? The players can, go into the transfer portal before the game. Coaches can leave the team before their games. I mean, the whole college football is set up, and then after the conference championship games, if you don't make it to the college football playoff, it's over. The sport's telling you it's over because coaches are allowed to leave and players are allowed to leave.
So, easy fixes. That I think everyone's jumping on this week. Clearly, they have to move the transfer portal back. Why you're allowed to transfer before the season over makes no sense anyway. Why are you basically say the season is until the bowl game is over, then you can transfer. I don't think the transfer portal should be allowed. I love player movement, but why are you allowed to leave before the season's over? If you sign on for 1 year at Wisconsin, you should have to play the season at Wisconsin, not leave halfway through the season. Not halfway, but 90% of the way. So move the transfer portal back. Also, apply that to coaches aren't allowed to interview until after the bowl game. Do something like that, like the NFL does. And then, here's the ultimate fix. Have a cash prize at the end of the game so everyone wants to play. A significant cash prize. we watch the Final Four, and we've watched a lot of bowl games. There's so many commercials. Use some of that revenue instead of just wherever it goes into the ether to support the USC rowing team. I don't even know what they do with that money. Give that to the players so the players will have an incentive to be there. Then you can have all the fun with the Pop-Tart Bowl and all this stuff, and actually great games. I mean, we all grew up with bowl games that were meaningful. So put a cash incentive for the players to be out there, and boom, you fixed everything. Don't let them transfer and make them play in this game.
Okay, so two really big obstacles to both of those things. Number one, if you try to restrict more player movement here, it might be struck down by the courts. I mean,
how is that restricting player movement to say you have to play to the end of the season?
I'm telling you, say it and I say it. Right now, the NCAA is one of the most unpopular institutions that we have in this country, and that's saying something. And all these court cases that happen with the NCAA, they're giving you more player movement, not less. So that's one thing that you'd have to, figure out. And the other thing is, you're saying like wave a magic wand and pay these players. That's not going to be easy either. How much do you get?
Yeah.
There's no collective bargaining. Like, it's easy in the NFL because they have a union and collectively bargained. Yeah. You know how much everyone's making. How much of the Pop-Tart's going to pay each person from wherever? It's not an easy fix.
Yeah, but it's happening because NIL showed you that you have to pay the players, and now it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And NIL has quickly moved past marketing. There's no marketing money anymore. Now it's just pay for play.
Money.
So they're clearly going to expand that model.
Okay, here's a question for you. How much money would you be able to pay Jaden Daniels, who could be a top 3 pick in the NFL draft this year, to play in a bowl game?
So there are maybe 3 or 4 quarterbacks who are going to have to sit out these bowl games because they're NFL draft worthy. That's three teams that are affected by this. I'm not so worried about yes, Jaden Daniels, but how many Jaden Daniels are there?
Well, I think for the most part, you're going to have the best quarterbacks you want to watch are going to have made the 12-team playoff.
Right. So I don't think so. The other thing, too, is these bowl games are fun. If you're an LSU fan, don't you want the season to go on and don't you want to watch it on TV? Like, I don't want to get rid of the bowl games. I don't want less college football just to make a point.
Yeah, but when you have the type of lopsided scores, like, okay, Kirby Smart, Georgia playing Florida State. Can we hear the Kirby cut, guys? Can we hear Kirby Smart? Can we hear Kirby Smart talking about lamenting Georgia's walkover win over Florida State?
People need to see what happened tonight, and they need to fix this. It needs to be fixed. It's very unfortunate that they, who has a good football team and a good football program, are in the position they're in.
Yeah, you're going to have...
Well, you won't have that particular situation because you're expanding to 12 teams.
Okay, but you could still have extremely lopsided outcomes that are unwatchable with teams where the financial incentive is not enough to play in the bowl game.
Make the financial incentive enough.
Well, I mean, you say that, but that's, again, not easy.
I mean, I hate to say this because I didn't like it, but look, the NBA in-season tournament, these guys were talking about... Well, how much money was it, EJ? Like
$500,000.
Which is pocket change to a guy with a $250 million contract, and they were into it.
Okay.
So give a small percentage of, say, $100,000 per player to the winning team.
So here's the thing about the NBA in-season tournament versus this. Those NBA players, again, part of a union where whatever helps the league helps them. What does one individual Pop-Tarts bowl do for somebody who is playing at a totally different bowl or anything else? They're all totally disjointed from each other. Me playing in one bowl doesn't help someone else playing in another bowl.
Every bowl game has a cash prize. I don't think that's hard to set up at all.
And they're all going to have to be the same?
No, obviously they're not all the same. So as you get closer to New Year's, they're worth more and more. But I do think any cash prize at the lower bowls, it'll mean even more because the teams are worse and they're getting less NIL money. Like those are probably lower paid players already. Yeah, I think, in your scenario, by the way, so you're having 12 and done. You mean everybody just goes home? It just doesn't make any sense.
They're going home anyway.
No, you get that 3 weeks of practice and the fans get to travel somewhere and root for their team. Like,
meanwhile,
why would you want less college football?
But most of those games end up losing money, and you're asking fans to travel. I mean, you're talking about a small percentage here. This is really just a television product, and I really don't want people to come.
I think fans are into it. I think if you root for a school and they're in a bowl game, you're going to totally be into it.
And you're going to go watch your team, who you're not even sure who's going to suit up, go play whoever.
But if you do move the transfer portal, I think that'll immediately alleviate a lot of these problems. But if you put a cash prize, I think teams are going to be really into it. I don't think it's that much to say, all right, $20,000 per player for the active roster. I think guys would go all out for that. These are college kids. Can you imagine how much pizza that would buy?
After taxes. It's become a big business now, and you're going to have to really incentivize even more than this. To me, the bowls are over anyway. So that's our great debate for this Wednesday. Bowl season, can it be saved and should it be saved? I say no. Perloff says yes. 855-212-4CBS. Yes, EJ.
Yeah, so I think Perloff mentioned a couple of things. One thing that I think was interesting was the idea of paying the player. So, and as Perloff said, there's a payout for all of these bowl games. So let's take the Alamo Bowl, which is a pretty good bowl game, not obviously a New Year's Day bowl game, but a good bowl game. The payout for that for each team is $8 million, or total $8 million for all the teams. If you divide that by, let's say, 150 kids, let's say there's 75 kids on each team, that would give each kid $55,000. So, I mean, that's more than even the 20 we were just talking about before, and that's for a game that probably would have a couple guys that maybe go into the NFL.
Okay, so great in theory. The people who are getting that money now, you're expecting them to give it back? You're going to have to sue to get that. Like, you think that, I read this, that the athletic director from Ohio State makes $35,000 for Ohio State to go and lose to Missouri, right, and look bad. He makes $35,000. He's giving that back now? Like, you're asking Alamo to pay more now. You're asking ESPN to pay more. Like, the ripple effect of this is not just give the players money. Like, think about NIL. NIL is not the schools paying the players. It's the boosters now having to pony up.
For now,
but that's how it's working. So you're expecting the way this system has worked, where everyone's been getting fat off of this besides the players, and now you want that to just automatically change because out of the goodness of their hearts? Yeah, guys, you sound super naive.
I think it's out of saving the sport, as Perloff is saying. It's about saving the bowl season. They have no choice. It's about survival.
Who cares about the bowls anymore when you got a 12-team playoff?
Like, I think there's an economic incentive for people to wake up and say, oh, we're not going to be able to hog all the money anymore.
How about this? The economic incentive of televising these playoff games when they get to 12. That's going to be bigger than any Cheez-It Bowl. No offense to Cheez-Its. It's going to be bigger than anything because the television money you're going to get from the playoffs is going to trump everything.
Well, here's the reality, though. I think it's a very interesting debate, but the reality is they're not going to. They need a longer college football season. They can't just stop at the end of the regular season. There's just not enough inventory.
But it's such a crappy product. Like you're.
Yeah, but it can easily be improved.
How many bowls did you guys watch?
Like 3. No. I watched that Clemson-Kentucky game, which was actually great. You'll get a weird good game in there. I don't know why the
randomly you'll get
because you need a quarterback who's coming back, and you need a lot of things to go there. A quarterback who wants to improve his draft stock, but
you don't have to. And
I watched
these
some
bowls.
of that Pop-Tart Bowl, and
it's background noise. You don't have to watch any of it.
Yeah, but it's still better than nothing because the other option is nothing. That's not really an option.
No, you just keep expanding the playoffs more and more and
more.
So
if that's your argument and you're saying a 64-team football playoff, people are going to hate that.
Well, they hated it at first when the NCAA tournament went to 68. And now look at it. I can't even imagine it any other way.
But 60, yeah, you can imagine 64. I mean, the 68 is...
Or 60, whatever. It's 64, like...
Wait, But by the way, that was 1983.
I'm telling you.
How do you know people hate it?
There was backlash.
You weren't even born.
I was barely born, and I was pissed off.
No, I mean, I think the fear with a 64-team playoff is it'll water down the regular season way too much.
Congrats! Like that's what's happening now. This is the model and how it's moved. Every single sport has expanded the playoffs and watered down the regular season. Why would we think college football would be any different? And by the way, saving the bowls doesn't do anything about the regular season. Congrats, you get to go to the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Like, now I care? No.
Well, one thing, it does save you from going to a 64-team tournament, which would be, I think, a real problem.
But you think they're going to go from 12 to 24 at some point? It might not get to 64, but it's going to expand past 12. Guys, come on. We've already seen this movie.
I'm not sure.
Once you get more money, you never stop saying, give me less money. And then the networks want to pay for playoff games. They want to play for one-and-dones that are meaningful. Or they'll play more for it, put it that way.
Yeah, I think they look at college basketball and say, uh-oh, that is not what we want to be.
Well, but they love the tournament. The tournament brings in billions.
Sorry, it's gonna take 6 weeks to play, too. That you're gonna have to figure out how you're gonna do that and how you're not gonna run into the NFL playoffs and how you're not gonna shorten up the regular season if you want to keep the regular season the way it is.
Because the regular season makes a lot of money for college football. I don't think it makes anything for college basketball.
I mean, the less and less these guys are actual students, the less and less they actually have to stay on a school calendar. I mean, why not start this thing in early August or whatever? Like, we're all kidding ourselves anyway that at this level of college football that they're actually expected to
I can't believe
on
I'm
the
saying
calendar.
this, but I would rather have a silly Pop-Tart bowl than a 32 or 64
totally
team tournament.
agree.
Yeah. You guys, whether you want that or not, look at where the wheels of the sport are going. Like, look at what the direction it's moving.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that they've resisted expanding for as long as they have. They're incredible at slowing down progress in college football. They're a unique sport. The fact that, 15 years ago, they knew they could have made billions off this Final Four and this Final Eight, but the bowl people were so powerful, they kept them from doing it. So they're pretty good at resisting change.
And think of how the conferences basically shot themselves in the foot because they made it 4 when you have 5 Power Fives. Like, basically, the Pac-12 kind of ushered in some ways, their own demise off of that anyway. They just never thought they'd be the odd people out.
One more irony about college football. This is from our buddy Albert Breer. The fact that they were worried the games were too long, so they changed the clock, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And then they have their commercial breaks are 30 seconds longer than they used to be, so they're still having as many crappy commercials.
Yeah, they're like, we can make the game faster, enough time to squeeze in more commercials.
But they
the
don't
money
make the
that's
game
not
faster
going to the
because
players.
there's 7 million commercials.
Okay, so that's the great debate for today. Bowl season, can it be saved? Should it be saved? 855-212-4CBS. Let us know what you think about it. Coming up next, so much more to do, including the one story in the NFL that has our blood absolutely boiling. Both of us, Perloff and I, aligned on this one because we just can't get over it. Get to that next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We're back here on Maggie and Perloff. You know I was an English major, Maggie. So I pride myself. I pride myself on proper grammar and getting expressions right, which ironically I never do. But last night I was at jury duty, as I always am.
Yeah. When does this end, by the way?
Never. I am moonlighting. I have 2 jobs: host of the Maggie and Perloff show and jurist.
You know, it's funny. It's like when you play pickup football and someone's the all-time QB.
Yeah.
Like you're the all-time juror. You're just in there. You're juror number 10 from now to eternity.
I got to be honest. I might be a better juror than I am radio host. I'm pretty good at this point. I understand the legal.
How do you become good or bad?
I understand. Actually, there's 23 of us. We all know exactly what's happening in every case. We know we can help the lawyers now.
Is this like an episode of Law and Order where you know who the murderer is from the opening credits?
It's basically 4 weeks of watching Law and Order and thinking I'm a lawyer. That's it, or a cop. Yes, I know the second.
Thank God you're not either.
Yeah, we'll sit around. We'll say like, I don't know if that lawyer explained vouchering right or something, some crazy legal term. Okay, so I said to my fellow jurists yesterday, I have to leave at 10 of 5 because I have to drive my daughter somewhere.
Yeah.
And a guy next to me, a young guy, says 10 of 5. What does that mean? I said 10 of 5, 450. He's like, you mean 10 to 5?
You guys got to get out of this room.
Well,
there's going to be another murder.
Yeah.
It's going to be real bad.
But that'd be smart, all in house. Kill him and then immediately have a grand jury session.
And then also represent yourself. Yeah.
Sadly, this was the most interesting thing that happened on jury duty yesterday. But it did bring up, so I went to the social medias and asked people, do you say 9? Did you say 10 to 5 or 10 of 5? And I found out that most people do say 10 to 5, but 10 of 5 is acceptable, although it doesn't make any sense.
Did this bother this person that you said 10 of 5 instead of 10 to 5? Man,
so
I don't want that person on my jury.
But I did get a lot of support. Basically, my favorite is my old friend Chris Law from the NFL said, when you say 9 to 5, I immediately think of the Dolly Parton song. So that's 5 of 9. But what do you guys say? Say 4:50 p.m. in the afternoon. How do you describe that?
4:50.
You say, or you never say quarter of.
I say quarter of, maybe. I've never thought about it because it's so inane.
It's not inane. Bogus, what do you do?
Well, first of all, I'm mad at you because I saw your tweet on this, and then I spent a good 20 minutes like talking to myself about how I say time.
Yeah.
And it's definitely 10-5. But I would have understood what you meant, but I would have always said 10-5.
Okay. EJ?
I would agree with Bogish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bellotti, I have no idea what you're going to say.
Time. For me, it's either 450 or 10-5.
10-5. Okay. But if I said 10-5,
Yeah,
you'd
it's
all
not
know.
like we know what you're
10.
getting at.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You guys got to get out of this room because you're starting to get on each other's nerves in a way that is like married couples or something.
Did that guy have a club in his hand or something?
No, but I got all these tweets. People, a lot of people said I've never heard of 10-5, and a lot of people say that's the British way to say it. And I was like, wow, that's cool.
Are you the oldest guy in this room?
What's that?
Are you the oldest guy in
Oh,
this
hell
room?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
When I watch British TV, they say like 7:30 for 7:30, which is weird.
What?
Why do you watch
Yeah.
British TV? What do you watch?
Right now I'm watching Slow Horses on Apple TV. It's
Everyone keeps telling me to watch that.
Benny Hill.
Gary Oldman, right?
Yes.
Wait,
Benny
do you do it
Hill.
with subtitles?
No, I just
That's
listen.
when you need
See,
them.
I would definitely need him for a British show.
No, it's
you
not
ever
that
see
bad.
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels? No
That's-
clue what they
that-
said in
I
that
don't know
movie.
what language that is. Yeah.
Oh, the
Peaky Blinders
great
needed-
British Bake Off. Definitely need for that.
What'd you say, Peaky Blinders?
Peaky Blinders needed closed captioning
Yeah.
for sure.
Mr. Bean. Watch Mr. Bean close captioning.
Just ...
A
Very funny.
great British Bake Off. They're making stuff you never heard of before, and in an accent, you gotta have it on.
By the way, Bogish and I are having more in common. He's a slow Gary Oldman fan. I've seen the movie Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy 150 times.
Oh, I fell asleep in that
I've read the
movie.
book.
The British spy movie with Gary Oldman. So I'm totally into this.
See, but you won't let Bogish go with you to San Antonio if Wembanyama wins Rookie of the Year. Perloff, this is one of our show bets, not the first one that will get paid off in 2024. That's EJ and myself wearing a wrestling singlet because we bet against Michigan.
Different wrestling singlets. That's not like you're going to squeeze into the same one.
I know, I keep making that mistake. Speaking of grammar, I keep making that mistake. We'll wear our own separate wrestling singlets, but the second bet, or one of the bets that will get paid off in 2024, is Perloff will have to drive to San Antonio and apologize to Victor Wembanyama if he wins Rookie of the Year, because you called him Wembustiyama. And Bogish offered to go with you, and you said no.
Yeah.
And that was like the first day of the show.
Because I could sense it. I felt the connection, and it's becoming clearer by the day.
You want to get out of the house and get out of having to wake up early and come in here and do radio. And Bellotti probably with young kids wants to go too.
Wait, I just
Not everybody, and I'm sure you kind of want to go too.
Well, I hate road trips, but you're just assuming that you guys don't have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and still get on the road. I imagine you'd have to keep the same schedule. But
You're not going to drive at 3 o'clock in the morning.
it's the best time to drive. But Bogish, now you're finding out you guys got all this stuff in common. You like the same music. You watch the same shows.
I am not a jam band guy.
But he likes Pavement, don't you?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Anything from the 90s.
He's just making the case. He'll agree with anything just to get on this road trip at this point.
By May, let's drive.
It's like Eagles, sure. Sixers love them.
Joel
Wear those
Embiid.
Philly socks.
Oh, yeah, we're in the Phillies stuff.
Let's find him in the trash.
I don't
Bryce
think
Harper,
Bogish
best
and I
ever.
have the same aesthetic at all.
It's pretty damn close, guys.
Really? I feel like he's kind of a hippie.
The only comparison to you.
Wait, Bogish is a hippie.
Yeah,
Where'd you get that from?
I just feel like he liked to sort of kick back, maybe smoke something of questionable origin and listen to Dave Matthews Band.
He
That is
told
not me
one
at all.
story about falling asleep in his house at a party. Now he's like,
I
that
missed
was
that
from
day. I
vodka.
heard-
Yeah, that's not exactly the hippie drink.
right,
vodka.
exactly.
I feel like Maggie and Bogish have a lot more in common than me and Bogish.
I like the Grateful Dead, which I guess
Out.
is kind of close.
Yeah.
Close to Dave Matthews. Not in my
yeah.
book.
Wait, what are you talking about? I mean, listen, didn't a lot of Deadheads go on to Fish or maybe Dave Matthews?
Yeah,
No.
but there's a whole other level of jam band. Like Dave's songs are like 11 minutes, and Grateful Dead songs and
Like
Fish
2
songs can be like
hours.
2 hours. Yeah.
Also, I like the Dead because my older brother liked the Dead, not
Yeah.
because I was on tour with Jerry. You know, I was a little late for that. I was like 9 when Jerry unfortunately passed away. But no, I think that Perloff and Bogish, first off, Bogish isn't a hippie.
Yeah.
The Hartford Whalers sweater, he's not
I'm the
playing
biggest
hacky
nerd in
sack.
the room until you show up. That's the
Well,
only
EJ
difference.
takes the cake on that. EJ's our biggest nerd. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
True.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't.
There
I
are
don't deny
8
it.
Robins.
No,
Yeah.
EJ last night is we're
It
getting
might be low in that number. I'd like
getting-
to get it by over under on that.
We're getting off our call last night, and EJ's like, all right, I got a Marvel DC podcast I got to get to. We're like, all right.
That was what I was doing last night.
Whatever.
I was up late trying to finish it and get
What
ready
was
for the show today.
What was a topic? I'm just
Big
dying to-
topic. Kang recast.
What's a girlfriend?
Apparently, it's happening.
Oh,
That's the
God,
rumor.
why don't they just? They need to let Kang go.
No, but they might do Colson Domingo, who's a fantastic actor.
Get
What
out
is
of here.
this?
You're gonna recast Kang?
All right, Wait a minute.
Great.
I think we were wrong. It's Perloff and EJ
Yeah,
that are the same.
Drive yourself.
No, but we'll talk about the NBA. Then he'll
But
be strangling me, or I'll be strangling him.
Take a bug.
EJ and I happen to disagree. He likes like Aquaman. He likes the crappiest superhero movie.
Aquaman in the last Lost Kingdom was really good, and people saying that it's trash don't know what the hell they're talking about.
So EJ and Perloff on this road trip wouldn't even be able to get through the Lincoln Tunnel before they started talking about the Knicks, and
There
somebody
you go.
would kick somebody else out of the car.
Yeah, it's like the great friends that like yell and argue with each other all the time. That's me and Perloff.
It'd be hard for me. I still need to explain how RJ Barrett a month ago was a great player in EJ's mind, and now they got rid of nothing for OJ and Ruben.
Oh my God. OG, first of all, not OJ.
I-95, you start talking about the in-season tournament, and all of a sudden EJ's walking on the side of the highway.
Yeah, or someone's veering the car right off the road into a ditch somewhere.
I think me and Bilotti are the closest.
Actually, maybe that's right.
Yeah, I hear Bilotti say things. I'm
laugh.
like, I secretly identify.
Pete disagrees.
That would be like the Odd Couple. I have a feeling.
I don't see you guys as the same, but maybe.
Actually, I have no idea what Bilotti does when he's not in this building.
No one does.
Like what movies Bilotti likes? I love the slightest clue.
I like C movie comedies. So like My Blue Heaven.
I love that movie.
Love My Blue
Maybe
Heaven.
it's me and Bilotti.
25 years ago?
Yeah. It's a great movie.
Bogus, you worked with him for a while.
A general rule of Pete's pop culture likes is pre-1988.
Wait a minute. How did Bilotti just
89.
pull My Blue Heaven out of the thin air?
No,
That's
not
a
the
great
thin air.
movie.
He watched
You're
it
gonna
yesterday.
melt all this stuff.
It's so good. Rick Moranis, Steve Martin, EJ. Have you seen this movie?
It's Italian
Definitely
for
not.
Oh,
it's Italian for extra special.
It's so good.
It's so dumb.
It's a great premise. It's like a guy who's a mobster who has to go into witness protection, and Rick Moranis is the FBI agent who has to protect him.
And
Jane Cusack is in the movie.
To be fair, I mean, this cast I'm looking at is fire.
It's great.
What kind of Italian dishes do you have? Macaroni and cheese.
They're in San Diego, aren't they?
Right.
Love
The
San Diego.
Padres.
Yeah.
Pete's got nothing on like Wedding Crashers
Okay, actually, Maggie and Pete are
Wait,
close.
Pete, what do you have on What About Bob?
Oh, I love that movie.
No, by the way, I know Maggie's
sale.
movie taste is. You guys are movie twins.
I think
You
it's
guys
me
are
and
definitely
Pete who are
movie
driving
twins.
to San Antonio with chit-chatting the whole way.
Ahoy!
Did you just say what about Bob? By the way,
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sailing. I'm a sailor. Thank
Dr.
you.
Leo, Marvin!
Yes. Finally, I found my spirit animal on this show. Pete, you found me.
That's right.
So you guys are driving. Let's take 3 cars to San Antonio.
See which one makes it.
And then we'll just switch halfway through.
Maggie and Perloff, the great race.
Yeah. And I will
I'm
record
solo
all the
at this
conversations and put out a poll. Which is the more interesting conversation? Me and EJ debating DC versus Marvel. Maggie and Pete celebrating
Agreeing on-
1993 comedies.
And me singing a Live in Central Park Dave song along with, by myself in my car. Because I just got dropped from this.
if
This
that's-
began with me trying to make a new friend, and now I've got nothing.
Now you're on a moped listening to DMB on your headphones alone.
Just jamming out on a lawn somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, really got to be rooting for Chet Holmgren right now.
By the way, when we started this job, Bogus did say something to Maggie and I. He's like, you're not going to really be able to figure out Bilotti immediately.
I get it now.
You said it as sort of, it was a warning / just piece of information. He's like, you think you might know him? You're really
Wait,
not going to
Pete.
get a handle on him.
Police Academy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I will watch, but not on my list.
Let me open up your world.
Police
There we
Academy.
I like when they write dork on his chest. I remember that
Police
part.
Academy 4,
That's-
Mission Miami Beach. Yes. We are in.
Do you
Hey,
know
dork.
this? Do you know this franchise better than Rocky?
I know Police Academy franchise. Like, I'm waiting for the one day I'm on Jeopardy and they're like, Police Academy for the Daily Double. I'll be like, oh my gosh.
Okay, Naked Gun.
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
Bingo.
I think 11-year-old Maggie sat in front of cable television and watched these movies 100 times.
Yeah, this is not a really good, ringing endorsement for my parents. I had a lot of
It's an
time to
excellent ringing
kill.
endorsement for your parents.
They were very busy, so I needed a babysitter,
Remember
which
the-
was Leslie Nielsen. Bogus just headlines.
Yeah, let's do some
Hello.
serious stuff. We know how much Maggie loves her hockey smut. Maybe the NBA has some too.
Fires the fadeaway 5-foot jumper, rips the cord. Thunder by 4, timeout Celtics. Jalen Williams pumps his fist. The crowd aroused.
Keep it in your pants, crowd. That was Matt Pinto on Thunder Radio. OKC fans enjoying a 127-123 decision over the Celtics. The Thunder have now won 5 in a row, 8 of 9. The hot stretch includes wins over the Celtics, the T-Wolves, the Clippers, and the Nuggets twice. Rookie of the Year fave Chet Holmgren sounding like a vet post-game.
As far as long-term, it doesn't really prove anything, I guess you could say, or like it doesn't kind of satisfy anybody. We know we have a long ways to go.
Holmgren, 14 points, 7 assists, 4 blocks in support of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He scored 36. Victor Wembanyama had 20 points, grabbed 7 boards, blocked 4 shots, but the Spurs lost again, 106-98 in Memphis. The Pelicans smoked the Nets, 112-85, and Joel Embiid returned from a 4-game ankle injury with 31 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 helpers in a 110-97 win over the Bulls.
I'm sorry. Pete's just been saying naked gun lines in my ear.
Yeah, that's how he flirts. Again, I used to get that.
This is so funny. I'm crying. Sorry, back to the basketball. Whatever, baseball.
It doesn't
Sports.
matter.
All right.
We won't know if Matthew Stafford makes the Hall of Fame for years, but we know now that Rams head coach Sean McVay sticking around.
You're tied for second in Rams history now for regular season wins.
Nice.
With Chuck
I did not
Knox.
know that. That's
Congratulations.
Cool. Appreciate that.
Come on.
How, I really didn't.
John Robinson ahead of you.
How far ahead?
Within striking distance next season, if you can promise us there's going to be a Coach McVay Show 2024 edition.
That I can promise you.
So I guess if there's a show, he's the head coach.
Enough of this guy.
McVay.
All right,
Hey,
really.
go back to your movie liners,
Enough,
okay?
Enough of this guy like he's been around as long as Parcells, all right? Relax.
Oh, Pete is empowered right now.
No, we've had to hear about this for a couple of years now. He's going to retire every year now. I mean, stop. Enough. When you retire, tell us.
I agree
Back
with
to
Pete
you.
100%.
Is he 41 years old? How old?
I don't think he's that old.
No, I think it's like 38. But I feel like this was relatively
Oh
unprompted.
my God, he's 37.
Yeah, like were we really worried that?
Yeah,
Last year, he was basically begging to leave last year, basically.
He was in the Fox booth by last year.
Right, but that was last year. I thought this was now
But that's
settled.
what's so corny about this. It's like, okay, when your team looked garbage and it looked like you had no future, now you're like, okay, Fox, NBC, somebody give me $12 million to call games. And then you decide to come back. Now your team looks good. It's like, oh, no, I'll be back.
Yeah.
Well, I can promise you I'll be back. That is the most corny thing from Sean McVay. I'm sorry. He dominated the headlines this time last year talking about how, he wanted to start a family. I know he has a new wife, new baby. That's amazing. Okay, that's something that you want to do, fine. Then don't come to next year. Now that you have an infant and we talk about, are you going to be back next year? Why would anybody think I'm not going to be back? What's the difference now? Oh, because now you got Puka Nacua and you got some stars? Come on.
And a new contract.
Yeah,
well,
come on.
having kids though, EJ, you haven't been there yet. It does make you think crazy things. Sleep deprived.
It makes you just want to quit everything.
Drive to San Antonio by yourself.
My wife's theory is not the receivers in Kansas City. She thinks that having 2 under 5 for Patrick Mahomes is absolutely killing his career right now.
But see him at that New Year's party? I mean, he definitely was letting loose.
Oh
yeah,
my
because he
gosh.
hasn't slept in 3 months. He probably had 2 beers.
I don't think that was it.
That was not the reason why
No,
his
I'm
eyes
telling you,
were
he's a
red.
lightweight right now. I was like that when I didn't sleep. Hey, Sean McVay is younger than Joe Flacco, and he's thinking about retiring. How is that possible?
I think that it was a burnout. It was burnout, and
In
then
your
it was a
30s
ruse.
as a coach?
Well, here's the other part. You go to Fox or you go to CBS, and then what happens? You become a even better coach in hindsight, and you get even more money. Get the John Gruden contract.
I didn't think about that. That's not a bad plan.
Sean Payton, look how much money he got.
I also think he realized at that time how bad the draft pick situation was and that they gave up basically everything to build this team. And I think he was like thinking of pulling the parachute.
When do you think he noticed when they coined the slogan "F them picks"? Maybe that's when he figured it out.
I mean, when Aaron Donald finally retires, though, then he'll retire. I
And
get
he
that.
threatened to retire too. Remember?
The guy, my team's bad. Now let me get out of here. Like,
Well, he
come
said
on.
that after the Super Bowl.
I know, and at least look, he plays a physical sport. I don't feel as bad about Aaron Donald, but McVay thing, I cannot stand the coach that runs to family, runs to personal issues as to why they have to quit. Urban Meyer, a million times when his team doesn't look that good.
Right.
And then once
McVay
his team is
didn't
good,
quit,
then
by
he's
the
like,
way.
oh, I feel great and I can coach again.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the frustration. Don't bring Urban Meyer into this. McVay didn't quit. Maybe he was just negotiating because he got a new deal. And again, he was asked about this out of nowhere by his buddy. He didn't do anything to bring this up now. He was just answering a question.
But it was because he
in
took
a joking
the whole,
way.
I know, but it was because he took the whole dominant storyline of last year and made it about himself. Should have been about the playoffs. Instead, it was about, is this young wonderkin coach going to retire at 37 years old? So, of course, this year we're going to be like, well, are you going to be back? Like, I don't think that was a ridiculous question.
The question is, yes.
Meanwhile, you have on the other side of the coin, you'll have Popovich, who's not going to go away,
Or Belichick.
no matter how bad the teams are.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Belichick, I mean, he's going to go somewhere else, right?
For the record, too. Right? He wants the all-time win record.
I mean, he hasn't said that. I think that's people kind of projecting it on him.
It also seemed very easy a couple of years ago. Very close.
Yeah, it's
the
like,
win
oh,
record.
this is great.
Yeah.
12 wins a year. I'm going to
Then
knock this thing
Mac
out.
Jones came around. And I was like, maybe not so easy.
Men's college hoops last night, number 18, Baylor opened its new arena with a 98-79 win over Cornell. The Foster Pavilion cost $212 million and seats $7,000. And we got a few more details about Yoshinobu Yamamoto's 12-year, $325 million deal with the Dodgers yesterday. The Japanese righty can opt out after the 2031 or 33 World Series if he has Tommy John surgery or misses extended time because of his right elbow anywhere between 2024 and 29. If that elbow stays healthy, he can bail after the 29 or 31 World Series. And while he can't veto any trade, he can opt out of the deal after any season in which he is moved. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Bogush. What is the year that you have to say to make you feel like, wow, like 2030?
Oh, it feels like way into the future.
Yes.
2024.
Right now, 2024. I'm kind of used to the 2020s now. I feel like 2030 would be like, wow, I can't believe I've been around this long.
It's the old Conan O'Brien skit in the
from the
year
year
2000. Even
One of
though
my
I'm like, wow,
favorites.
that's a futuristic time. 2000.
He was doing that
23 years ago.
He was doing that bit in 2005.
Yeah, I know. And where did he start in 96 or something? And yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, 2030 AI is going to be so ridiculous that I don't even think we're going to recognize things.
Oh, we won't be here. AI will have taken over.
No,
great.
I think we're going to be here.
Terminator style.
Yeah, I mean, but that's assuming that there are 7 other ways the planet ends before that.
Yes, let's get into this upper
That's
conversation.
a poll. What's going to bring us all down by 2030?
This conversation's an hour in that car.
Have you guys heard about it?
This is why I don't want to ride with Perloff. He's
Just
going to be
so
do
you
you
know.
have your bunker ready? It's like, no, I don't.
You guys know about the gray sludge, right? Have you gotten into this at all?
No, what's that?
AI will start creating these little gray particles and repeating itself, and there's no way to stop the repeating until a gray sludge covers the entire planet and no one lives within a week.
All right.
Wait,
Yeah.
You hang out with Aaron Rodgers recently?
No, it's a gray sludge. It's definitely the way AI is going to get us.
Yeah.
It's not
Wait,
going to be like the Terminator.
Let's keep exploring that.
Wait, it's creating gray. And what does the gray sludge do? It knocks out the water system or what?
No, it covers everything. So the whole planet is covered in gray sludge. You can't breathe. There's no oxygen. There's just gray sludge. Because think about it. Once AI starts creating these little particles, how do you stop it?
But why are they going to create the particle? How are we predicting that now? Is AI telling us that AI is going to make us gray sludge?
I mean, we just assume robots want to kill us, right? I mean, that's fact number one.
Well, that I do agree with. But I don't get this. This method feels like a Bond villain came up with it. It's like,
Right.
you could just kill us all. Why
Yeah.
do you have to do this
Lasers.
elaborate? Yeah, why do you have
It's not
laser beams
even-
on a shark's
it's
head
not
when you
even
can
that
just wipe
elaborate.
us out?
Some kid in the basement could create a self-replicating gray particle,
Or
and
just
then
put
we're
a
done.
tablespoon of botulism in the water table and we're all
Yeah.
going to be dead. I mean, there's an easier way to do this.
I mean, it's not going to be Terminator. It's not going to be, as I always joke, it's not going to be future Andrew Perloff runs in and says, "Turn off the toaster. It's about to kill you." That is not how it's going to go down.
And then he calls me and it's just like, is your toaster on?
Is your fridge running?
Thank you, Bogush.
Run away from your fridge. Smart
Oh, boy.
fridges. That's what's going to bring us all down.
It's to poison the food. Again, it's like a Bond villain created all these ideas when they can just, wipe out the electric grid. We'll all start killing each other. Anywho, go see that movie about the wrestlers. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. We have more to do, including, again, a story that is just not sitting right with me and Perloff. We'll get to that next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. You know, generally, Perloff, you and I are kind of on opposite sides of things. It's rare when we totally agree on sports topics, but this one I think we're actually in lockstep with each other.
Ooh. I have no idea where you're going.
Well, it's about the Denver Broncos and how they could potentially be in trouble for how they have handled this Russell Wilson situation. Now, we were off during this time, so this ridiculous story, if indeed this is the way that it played out, which is the Broncos going to Russell Wilson, asking him to either waive or change guaranteed clauses in his contract, guaranteed for injury, and if he didn't, to threat to bench him over that, is egregious. I mean, you cannot play that kind of hardball with someone, and I hate to say this, especially not someone who is a future Hall of Fame quarterback who you traded for and then you decided to pay.
You're trying to sort of make up for a mistake that you made in the first place with this crazy contract. I think that there's something wrong with this franchise. I really do believe this. And part of it is some personal experiences. One of my good buddies, Case Keenum, went there, had a great year in Minnesota, peak of his powers, goes to Denver, and they just do everything wrong. So they surrounded Russ with a crap team. And basically, Sean Payton, who's a great coach, couldn't do anything about it either. So I think Russell Wilson was in a bad spot here. I don't think Russell Wilson actually declined as bad as some people think. I don't think he played badly, did he?
Not bad enough to where you would go to him with this kind of proposition. Because, first of all, who do you think you're messing with here? Now, again, this is if all of this is true. And Russ came out and said this was the situation. Now, he didn't go into the granular detail of it, but nobody from the Broncos side has come out to refute anything.
Well, this is how it happened, though. Bleacher Report's Jordan Schultz, our good buddy, said this is what happened, that they came to Russ in October and asked to renegotiate his contract. Then the Broncos reporter said that's absolutely not true. This national guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Then Russell Wilson almost verbatim said what Jordan Schultz said. There's no way Russell Wilson would lie about that.
No, because essentially he is ushering in his own exit from the Denver Broncos. And what's funny about this is you look back now at everything that's happened this season, and you can't help but look at everything in a totally different light. You know, Aaron Rodgers actually said this yesterday on the Pat McAfee show, because he's just opining on everything and anything now. He said he believes that Sean Payton never wanted Russell Wilson.
Well, that's true.
And now this is looking like even more true. So they went to him in the bye week and said, we're going to bench you if you, allegedly said, we're going to bench you if you don't comply with our demands, which is essentially like taking money out of your pocket. And then they rattled off 5 wins in a row. And you're talking about Sean Payton and Russell Wilson having dust-ups on the sideline that were explained away in certain ways. I mean, this thing seems like it was doomed from the absolute beginning. And here's my question. Like, Russell Wilson is going to lose this power play. It'll be the second power play he will have lost, right? We know that he went in Seattle and tried to either get Pete Carroll or John Schneider, the general manager, fired. He lost that power play and got traded away. Now he's going to lose this one. He might not deserve to, but he's going to lose this one. Like,
but wait, why is he losing this power play? He gets to get out of Denver.
Well, okay, but
he doesn't. There's no way he wants to be there, does he?
Well, but here's the thing. You get traded, you sign that extension because you believe you're the starter. Wherever he goes next, is he going to be guaranteed to be the starting quarterback?
That's a big, but it doesn't feel like there's no real power struggle here because everyone knows they just paid Sean Payton. There's not a real struggle here. It's going to be Sean Payton's team. Russ knows that.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. It's just interesting to me that there was probably a moment before Sean Payton got hired where Russell Wilson did have all the power. Remember the office, the parking spots, all that stuff. It was a problem.
But last year they were terrible, so that all went away.
Right, and so now he's going to lose this one, and it's crazy to me because he's going to lose this power struggle to a coach who never wanted to coach him anyway. And can I take it one step further? Do we think that Sean Payton actually wanted to coach the Denver Broncos, or did they make him an offer that he couldn't refuse? And now he's here. The money was too good. The power was too much. I mean, this is a guy who said he liked doing television and, by the way, only wanted to go to a coaching destination where he could play golf. He openly said that.
Yeah, Denver's a great golf town.
Yeah, I'm sure the ball sails a mile high. You probably hit him.
Because the weather's more tempered than people know. But Sean Payton gets to start over at quarterback, and Russell Wilson gets to start over. Even if he's a backup, I think we'll see him on the field again at some point. So I don't.
But
I don't
that's
see
not
this
the ending that Russ wanted.
But he gets
here.
to get away from Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and offensive linemen who jump off sides any chance they get. It's a bad team.
Okay, but
Russ
think about it.
Russ cannot. First of all, Russ's numbers are pretty good in Denver. I think if he went to a real offense, they'd look even better.
But this has got to be a massive ego blow for Russ. I mean,
I think last year, any ego Russ had left went away last year. Remember last year?
no, it was awful, but you could blame it on Nathaniel Hackett. You could blame it on all injuries. You could blame it on all this other stuff. Now, basically, this organization is saying, no thanks.
Yeah, of course not. I mean, I think this party already ended in Denver. It was over a long time ago. They were 1-5. I mean, Russ, by the way, has great numbers this year.
Egregious what the Denver Broncos did to Russell Wilson. Whether you like him or not, whether you think he has anything left or not, if this is true and they try to shake him down like this, that is just awful.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's a violin prodigy. Her full name is Maggie the Stallion. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Wild times for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. This one, maybe we didn't see coming, which is a quarterback controversy, Perloff, in the short term and potentially in the long term as well. So what's going on with the Steelers is that they need a win over the Ravens and a little bit more help to make it into the AFC wildcard, right? They're playing the Baltimore Ravens, 4:30 Eastern start. Baltimore doesn't have to do anything. They don't have to play anybody. They might rest everybody. And this is a very winnable game for Pittsburgh.
Sure.
So Mason Rudolph is going to be starting this game. He has started the last 2 games. They've won both games. Everyone's been happy on the offense. It feels like the team has been reinvigorated. But now, Kenny Pickett, the original starter and first-round draft pick, is healthy. So he's going to back up Mason Rudolph in this game. Now, Pickett had to deny a rumor and a report from a local radio station in Pittsburgh that he had refused to suit up last week because he was going to be a backup to Mason Rudolph. He said that is not true. In fact, he was not medically cleared. Let's hear from Pickett.
I saw reports out there that I feel like we're attacking, my character and how I am as a person, not even getting into a player standpoint of it. There was no talk of me being a backup quarterback this week in terms of being a 2. If I was healthy enough to play and the trainers and coaches felt like I looked good enough to play, I was going to start and play. If they believed that I was not, which they believed I was not going to dress and suit up for the game. So whoever reported that, I don't know where it started.
Okay, so Pickett having basically to defend his character, which it was kind of a slight at his character. Like, here I am, this diva that I don't want, how dare I be a backup?
Yeah, but again, I keep getting back to this. I listened to the clip 3 times yesterday to figure this out. So he was going to start last week. He made that very clear, but now he's not going to start.
Because Mason Rudolph, I think, won that game in Seattle. It's a big win, and maybe they're going to ride the hot hand and give Pickett a little bit more time to heal. But
if he's healthy, he should be dressed in a uniform and playing football.
And here lies the potential controversy, because what do you do now? What are the Steelers? What's the long game and the short game here with this decision? The short game, I guess, is ride Mason Rudolph, try to make it to the postseason.
Makes perfect sense.
Okay.
And honestly, they'd be crazy if they went to a rusty Pickett right now.
What's the long game here, though?
I heard some people say this week, that, Pickett's done. 2 years, did not figure it out. They're not going to Rudolph as a starter next year. I think they go into camp and they say, Pickett, Rudolph, you guys battle it out. They're going to draft number 19 or 18 because they'll probably just miss the playoffs, 10 wins. So where are they getting this quarterback that's not Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph? So these are their guys. I think the long game is, they're not a forward-thinking offensive team. I think they're going to go into it with Pickett and Rudolph and hope one of them works out.
Okay, but that scenario basically paints what has become one of the worst nightmares for Steelers fans, which is you do just enough. And it's this sort of repeating mediocrity where you don't have a great quarterback. There's no Big Ben coming right now to elevate. Instead, you're going to roll with Pickett or Mason Rudolph. And let's be honest about Rudolph. For as good as it's looked now, he's going up against, in Cincinnati, backup quarterback. And also, like, backup quarterbacks generally get figured out. And I guess maybe not Gardner Minshew, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason why he was the third string guy. And that might have been a mistake, but there's a reason why he was the third string. So instead, you're going to have Kenny Pickett going into season 3, new offensive coordinator, or Mason Rudolph. Like, if I'm a Steeler fan, I mean, what the hell? That is not awesome.
Tell me some other option.
Maybe you go in the free agent market. I know that is not generally what the Steelers. They haven't had to do something like this in a while, but maybe you are looking at, can I make a play for Kirk Cousins? Can I make a play for Russell Wilson? Can I do something like that as opposed to going in with Pickett and Mason Rudolph?
Yeah, I mean, talking about just good enough, bringing in Kirk Cousins or Russell Wilson. Kirk Cousins is the poster boy for just good enough. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, is Kirk Cousins a quarterback who's taking you over the hump?
I've been told that Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott are the same quarterback. And I always thought that sounded like BS, but you look at the numbers and they actually are similar. We believe Dak is elite and was in the MVP conversation.
First of all, I think Kirk's going back to Minnesota, and I think Kirk would have had a great opportunity to do something this year because the NFC's gotten so bad. I understand what you're saying about just good enough, but this year they thought they had the formula figured out. They thought that Kenny Pickett was the elite guy. Like many people, I was fooled by preseason. He's a first-round pick. Like, if you look big picture, they kind of did everything right. Their quarterback got old. They took a quarterback in the first round. They have a great team around them on a rookie deal. This is how you win a Super Bowl. It just doesn't. They had the wrong offensive coach for Pickett, and then they had the wrong backup. They were 7-4. I'm telling you, this could have been the year. They're not that far behind Baltimore. I mean, they beat Baltimore fair and square early in the season. Their defense is elite, like Cleveland's defense. This could have been the year that they broke out of this. But Mike Tomlin was so pig-headed about Matt Canada that he blew the first part of the year with that, and then he went to the wrong backup. So I understand what Steelers fans are saying about, hey, we're in limbo. We're always going to be this average team. But this year could have been different.
Okay, but now let's think about it. Let's say Mason Rudolph. Let's play this out in a couple different scenarios. Let's say Mason Rudolph, they do make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Let's say they win a game. Let's say now you got Mason Rudolph.
He's the starter next year.
And what are you doing with Pickett? You're leaving him back there?
He's the backup.
That just feels that's the definition of you got two quarterbacks, you don't have one.
They're not making the playoffs.
They might. They're going to beat the Ravens. All you need is Jacksonville to lose to Tennessee, and you need Buffalo to lose to Miami. Those two things could happen.
Oh, my gosh. If Jacksonville can't beat Tennessee, they should fold that entire franchise. Will Levis serves one purpose back there, and that's to get thrown down by defensive linemen.
Got knocked out of the game last week was Tannehill.
If he does, he just sits. Oh, right. Actually, I think it could be either right now.
Yeah, they said if Levis is not healthy, it will be Tannehill. That was variable yesterday.
I mean, listen, this is like last dance here for Tannehill and Derrick Henry. So
there's also. Have you guys been reading the rumors that Vrabel is all of a sudden on the hot seat?
Let's not get distracted by what's going on with Tennessee. This is a Pittsburgh Steelers conversation.
Okay,
because you're in limbo again next year.
They're not. My point was they're not getting to a playoff game. Jacksonville's not going to lose this game, and Buffalo is definitely not going to lose to the beat up Dolphins. So you're sitting at 10-7. I just don't think you have any other options. Maybe Russell Wilson, but that's again.
I said Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins. I mean, at least you're giving somebody with a little bit of. Listen, or maybe is Mason Rudolph the next, great breakout story here of a guy who was overlooked, who's a late bloomer, whatever you want to say.
Geno Smith. I mean, maybe he's the next Geno Smith.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? Like Geno, I don't think the Seahawks, to be honest, were expecting that at all. I think they were expecting to trade for Drew Lock and that he was going to come in and win the job. And to Geno's credit, he took the job, won it, they made the playoffs, and then he got a little contract extension, signed a very team-friendly deal. This, to me, doesn't reek of that. This is Mason Rudolph, who's been in the building and still been overlooked.
I mean, Mason Rudolph, let's face it, has a lot of Kirk Cousins in him already. A third-round pick, like Kirk Cousins' fourth-round pick. Russ was a third-round pick. It's possible. We've seen NFL renaissances by players like this. He was a good college football player. Who's he dating, by the way? Doesn't he have a famous girlfriend?
I think he was dating someone in the media, but now I can't remember who it is.
Oh, I think he was dating somebody really famous.
No, a tennis player.
Jeannie
Bouchard.
Bouchard.
Yeah.
Yeah, who every
Canadian tennis player.
who
Yeah.
is you know.
She's an SI swimsuit model.
Yeah,
also.
I mean that was great pull for Mason Rudolph. Can we just say that right now?
Great pull. He's a quarterback in the NFL. He's an athlete, dating an athlete. That's not weird.
Yeah, but Jeannie Bouchard there are a lot of men who want to date Jeannie Bouchard. Let's put it that way.
All right.
And Mason Rudolph, the Oklahoma State quarterback, pulling a Canadian women's tennis player. And this was one of the weirdest couples to me. And I don't think I'm alone on that. Anyway, because of that reason alone, I have faith in Mason Rudolph. I think he's underrated. I just don't understand how they went with Trubisky. Mason Rudolph had been a backup. I understand. He's the guy with the Myles Garrett helmet thing. So, who knows what really happened there in the heat of battle. Anyway, I think the Steelers, I know the Steelers, they're definitely going to go with Rudolph and Pickett. I'd be shocked if they brought in Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins. No way.
In the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio. TM Lee says Justin Fields.
Oh, my God. The receivers are already complaining. When Justin Fields doesn't throw the ball and runs for 9 yards, what is George Pickens going to do?
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. So because you kind of foobarred the situation, maybe not starting Mason Rudolph earlier over Mitchell Trubisky, now you have him here setting up in a really big game, playoff berth on the line. And what does that mean for Pickett, who had this tightrope surgery, the surgery that is specifically designed to be able to come back and play this season, and now he's going to be the backup because Rudolph's got the hot hand? That is a messy situation. And it makes you wonder, the selection of Kenny Pickett to begin with, and I know Pickett had a little of this like magic where at the end of the game, somehow he could find a way to put together a good 2-minute drill or whatever. But you wonder, was it just a little too close here?
You mean take a local guy like that?
Yeah, it's like Mike Tomlin, like, hey, it was right here. The whole time he was right under our nose in our building. It's like, well, was he, or were you just seeing what you wanted to see from a local guy?
I think you're playing Monday morning quarterback because I think Pickett was slotted in the first round. I mean, that was not a guy threw 42 touchdowns and 7 picks his junior year.
He was a Heisman finalist.
Yeah, I mean, he was a baller in college. So I don't know. Did you say that when he was drafted?
I didn't, but again, this was a particularly bad quarterback draft where he was the only first-round pick in the draft. Like, who was this competition? This was maybe just a year of duds. I don't know. You always told me his small hands were going to be a problem.
It's easy to say that was a mistake now, but at the time, it did not seem. And in the preseason, it certainly didn't seem like that. Coming into this year, people were not down on Kenny Pickett.
Have you not learned that the preseason doesn't mean anything?
Well, it was also the end of last season. He showed that he had a knack for winning games in the fourth quarter. Honestly, now, yes, Kenny Pickett was a mess. But then again, they were 7-4 and driving. They got down to the 5-yard line, and Kenny Pickett gets hurt. They had Arizona and New England. Like, this could have worked out really well for Kenny Pickett this year. He could easily have 12 wins here, but he got hurt.
They were 7-4 with a negative point differential and negative yardage differential against all their opponents. Like, that just showed you how not sustainable that was.
Except that it completely was, because they had these crazy backup quarterbacks here. I mean, look what they're doing now with Mason Rudolph. They fired Matt Canada, so they improved. They had a good game against the Bengals. They had such an easy schedule, Maggie. It was just sitting there for them. They lost to Arizona and New England in Pittsburgh. How does that happen?
855-212-4CBS. What should the future be for Kenny Pickett? I know we got a lot of Steelers fans in this audience, and how you're really putting your faith in Mason Rudolph. Like, you go into next year with a Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett bake-off. You are definition of 2 quarterbacks, not 1. You are definition of, we didn't solve this problem.
or you can say 0 quarterbacks, not 1. Either way.
Even better. 855-212-4CBS. Maggie and Perloff want to hear from you. You can also watch us on YouTube and Twitch. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio, twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio. You want to know the easiest way to actually listen to the show? It's just telling your smart speaker to play CBS Sports Radio. It's so easy. We know you got a lot of smart speakers. Pete, you said you got one for Christmas, right?
Yes, I did. I'm going to hook it up today, and I will do the same thing.
There you go. Just tell your sports speaker to play CBS Sports Radio. Got a lot more NFL to do. Also, a New Year's resolution gone wrong. So much on Maggie and Perloff. Don't move. We're back in a minute.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Looks like we have a mission for 2024. Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Maggie, I see already that you have a major problem with something that everybody does every year. No one complains about it. They just do it and they move on. But I think you want to bring that to an end.
No, I'm so happy that finally the tide is starting to turn here in my favor, because I've always thought that New Year's resolutions were not stupid. If you like that, I'm not going to yuck your yums, go ahead. But I always thought they were ridiculous, because what ends up happening generally, right? You make these resolutions, these big sweeping things that you want to change about yourself. And humans really aren't like that. You know, you got to do things kind of in more baby steps in moderation. So what happens? Oftentimes people just give up on these resolutions in real short order. Like, I'm never going to eat chocolate ever again. And like by February, you're shoving the Valentine's Day candy down your throat.
Yeah, but that's not new. Everyone knows New Year's resolutions don't work.
Okay, but we keep doing them.
Of course.
Finally, there's now like some research that says these aren't really even good for you anyway. Like, I was reading this in Peter King's column that a neuropsychologist wrote in the Wall Street Journal that resolutions aren't really a good idea. And in fact, like, if you start saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to overdo this, I'm going to eat right, I'm going to keep my house cleaner, I'm going to catch up with people I haven't seen, I'm going to work harder, I'm going to do all these things, you end up going into this dark side where you don't get any of this stuff done, and it just creates more stress and anxiety. And I love it, because New Year's resolutions to me never made sense. This doesn't feel like the start of a new year. The fall and the spring feel more like New Year's and times of change. Spring is like rebirth. Fall is like harvest, if you want to go back to like agrarian times. This is just some random time in the middle of the winter. Just keep living your life, people.
Can I offer an alternative view?
Sure.
Maybe just chill out and order a salad for 2 weeks like everybody else and move on with your day, Maggie. I don't know why you have to be on this mission again, or quote a neuroscientist in Wall Street Journal. Who cares? We all know it's New Year's resolutions. Anybody who's putting real pressure on themselves because of New Year's resolutions is a crazy person.
Well, I think people do. And then if you end up failing at that resolution, it's like you're starting off this new year with an L.
Have you ever met anyone who was bothered with big picture by not hitting their New Year's resolution? Everyone, yes, go to the gym right now and you're going to wait 8 minutes to get on a piece of equipment because everyone's there, but in 3 weeks it'll be empty. That's just the way the world works. How can you get all stressed out? Oh my gosh, I said that I was going to go vegan and, I ate a hamburger in February. So what?
Well, so it's not worth the paper it's printed on then, or it's
of
not
course not, but it never has been.
But maybe finally now we can pull back the curtain and say, guys, this is all BS anyway. It's got to be lifestyle changes, got to be everything in moderation, and that's just the more like healthy way to approach it.
Good luck with that.
As opposed to these like wild extreme resolutions.
Do you know anybody? Everything's got to be in moderation. Let's go to the Mediterranean diet or whatever. Do you know anybody who succeeds in that way either? Nobody does anything in moderation.
Well, that's a better. It's like small baby step lifestyle changes. Not all of a sudden, all right, I'm going to cut out all bread, or whatever.
Yeah, but
and that's just
nobody's doing either. Nobody improves their lives.
Wow.
All these resolutions. Yeah, of course. I think it was common knowledge that New Year's resolutions did not work, but I think it's comforting to fool yourself. And I disagree with it. I understand what you're saying about the fall being the new year, but there is something about January 1st. The last week, a lot of people have some downtime to think about it. You kind of reflect on the year that just passed, and you think about, wait, what do I want to do different this year? Forget the eating stuff.
Yeah, that's one part of it.
Yeah, I think I think it's good to say, hey, where as personality-wise and character-wise could I improve myself? Could I be more altruistic? Should I take more risk? Could I do this? I think it's good to slow down and look big picture at your life. Okay. I think that is a noble aspiration.
That is true, but like, why does it have to be this particular date? It's like, this is generally kind of arbitrary.
Well, it's 1/1. It's January 1st. Okay, you're right. We should make it May 14th. What are you talking about? How is
it my birthday?
It's the opposite of arbitrary. It's 1/1.
I think that the way that this feels like it should work in the universe is like everywhere spring is like a rebirth. And that, to me, would make more sense as a beginning of the year or a time to make resolutions. I'm not going to try to switch the calendar on everyone. But maybe that's the time where you're like, all right. And maybe it's because I live in the Northeast and we have the 4 seasons. And spring really does feel like a reawakening because it's been winter and then it gets warm.
But be real, Maggie. If you're trying to, quote-unquote, improve your life, is that going to happen as you're going straight into a hot girl, a hot boy summer?
Yeah.
Not happening.
I've got way more motivation if I've got a bathing suit that I've got to get into in 6 weeks.
No.
Again, if you live in
Or you're
California.
talking about the weight thing. I'm talking about, I want to, I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to stop, just hooking up with random folks. You think that's going to happen as we're going right to the beach on July 4th or Memorial Day and you're seeing the fine honeys in the, in the sundresses or the fellas looking, buff and whatever?
Yeah.
You think that's going to stop people? Come on.
That's what I need. That's what I need, the reminder.
But
not the middle of January when everyone's all buttoned up.
So everyone goes to the gym the first 2 weeks of January, but then come May, everyone's in the gym anyway. You don't need that resolution because the summer's coming up and everyone's working out and getting fit for whatever you're calling it.
Hot boy, hot girl summer.
Yeah, hot boy, hot girl summer.
Yeah.
I just think, give me a date then. When do you want these resolutions to start?
How about April 15th is already
sucks,
taken.
By the way, there's nothing worse than the spring.
Spring
especially
rocks.
because spring is awful. First of all, winter, because I hate to, global warming has pushed winter into March for some reason.
That's
it
true.
hasn't even started yet. So now it's kind of crappy out. It's muddy. It rains. It's windy. I don't like anything about the spring. I
but you're
I go
going-
fall 1, summer 2, winter 3, spring 4.
Okay, but the spring, at least there's light at the end of the tunnel. That when you're coming out of it, it's going to be warm. It's not going to be cold again.
Yeah, you get to see some more sunlight. You're not having sunsets at
Daylight savings?
4:30.
Do your season ranking then.
Summer 1, fall 2, spring 3. Actually, summer 1, spring 2, fall 3.
Well, now we don't.
Fall's really
you're just
hard.
trying to be
I know.
different.
Okay, summer 1, fall 2, spring 3, winter 4, and winter a distant 4.
Keep the warm seasons at 1 and 2. Do whatever you want with fall and winter. I'm fine. You can. I would probably put fall at 3, just because you start college football at least, and it's not unbearably cold in the Northeast. But winter, give me
for the birds.
It's awful. It's one good week. You have your holiday, or 2 weeks maybe. Your holiday weeks, your Hanukkahs, your Kwanzas, your Merry Christmases, and then you get to New Year, and then it's just misery for 3 months.
Well, and then you're also got these resolutions to bring it full circle
Right, and
that
that's-
you've made that you're not keeping.
And it's painful. If you are trying to keep them, if you are saying, okay, I'm not going to eat any bread or I'm going to lose 20 pounds, you're killing yourself for the next 3 months of that winter period after the holidays. Get winter out of here.
Gosh, you guys, first of all, everything you said is disqualified. Not loving fall is the most un-American thing I've ever heard.
Pumpkin
get outta
spice
here.
latte.
Again, you're just trying to be
overrated.
different. There's no way fall is not number one.
Fall is pretty. It's pretty
I
dope.
understand
Fall,
summer.
school
Summer's awesome,
starts.
but fall shouldn't even be in this. Fall is so awesome and shouldn't even be in these. Right? It's almost like it should be the number one seed. It gets a bye. It's so much better
Wait
than
a
every
minute.
other seed.
I am not a parent, but you guys are parents.
Yeah.
You enjoy the fall where
Yes.
now you have your kid now is
in school.
In school.
Yes, amazing.
Right.
Someone else is watching them from the hours of 9 to 3:30.
But you gotta get them ready.
And it's free.
Yeah, but you gotta get them ready every day, and then
Fine.
you gotta deal with whatever they're doing in the house when they come back. You
The
actually
best.
prefer them back in school?
Yep, get in the car. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Foliage and
Just wait,
football.
EJ.
Who cares about the kids? You have foliage and football. Everyone comes back for the summer, and
Feels
it's a
more
huge
like the
party.
start of a new year.
September is
Then
the
January
greatest
1st.
month of all time. You have all the sports going at once. I don't know.
Okay.
Spring is terrible. Spring, you end up watching.
Spring you got
March
NBA
Madness.
playoffs, March Madness, hockey playoffs getting going, NFL draft.
Oh yeah, that's so much
April's
better than week 4 of
The
the NFL.
Masters?
Like setting your fantasy lineup. Get out of
Week
here.
4 of the NFL season. What are you talking about?
Oh my God.
Week 4 of the NFL
September
season.
and October are sports heaven. March, April, May are the worst.
April, you have literally every sport combining. Baseball starts, NFL draft. We're talking about all these players every day. You're still talking college football because you're talking the NFL draft. You got the NBA playoffs getting going. Now people care about basketball. You got March Madness. You got
The Masters.
Masters.
It's good. It's good time.
Awesome. My birthday's in April, so I live in this time, and I'm like, as a sports fan, I was like, this is the best time ever. I don't know how many times I've had NBA playoff games on my birthday or the draft on my birthday.
That's gonna be fun.
That is so sad.
All right, who
EJ.
wants to
That
share
you
their
like that better
resolutions?
than the football season is I don't even know if we're friends anymore.
Who? He's not taking you to San
A
Antonio.
random week in the NFL, it's 18 of them.
Who made a resolution
Yeah,
this year?
the 18 best weeks of the year.
No one wants to answer my question. Who made a resolution?
Not me.
Bogus, you don't seem like a resolution guy. Bellotti, I'm not seeing it from you either.
Nope.
I
I'm
don't
glad
call
everyone's
them.
with
I
me
don't
on
call
this.
them resolutions. I usually say goals ish.
Goals-ish, okay.
Yeah.
Perloff, that's going to be a hard no for you.
I'm more of a day at a time kind of guy.
Hour at a time.
Bogish is here with headlines. He's more of a headline at a time guy.
Guys, we know about Pete's tattoos. Who else in the room has one? Nobody? Anybody? No? Okay. So we're all trailing Ravens superfan Nick Collison, not to be confused with former Kansas big man Nick Collison. Collison gets a new tattoo after every Baltimore Raven win.
I posted it on social media. I started getting phone calls from the radio stations in Baltimore, and the biggest question was, are you going to do this until they win a Super Bowl? That's a tattoo every week. Like, that's a lot of work, you know? And I was like, we're doing this. It's game time.
We're doing this. And even doing this for 3 seasons. So Collison's on 30 tattoos, and apparently there's no end in sight.
This could be a 20-year trend. Nobody knows. I'm already 3 years in. I'm going to continue to do it until we win it.
Those 2 clips, by the way, courtesy of ESPN.
I mean, you've got maybe the 2-time MVP in a couple weeks. You're going to be double-digit wins for a long time, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you better pick an end date. You better say Super Bowl this year and I'm out. Give yourself a way to escape.
How much, you don't have enough surface area. How big is this guy? He's going to run out of skin.
And his wife does it. So I'm assuming he's saving on transportation and actual tattoo cost if the missus is just pulling up a kitchen chair and adding it on.
All right, come on over here.
Yeah.
Bend over.
But that's a lot. I don't want one tattoo. And he has 30 just about the Ravens.
What else could he possibly have? Is there like a Orioles thing in here?
I hope not.
Maryland Terrapins?
I mean, the commitment was a little alarming to me. 20. He's like, it's gonna be 20 years we could do this.
Also, I mean, that's a tough Monday. I mean, I know people love tattoos, but like they also hurt. No, like they're not pleasant to get, even if you love them.
Right.
Right. So like every Monday after they win, like congrats, you beat the Ravens or you beat the Browns, and it's just like, oh man.
But tattoo people don't seem to mind that pain. I don't think that's a downside.
I think they do, right? I think they just suck it up.
They suck it up, but obviously the fact that they're covered in tattoos means they're okay.
Yeah, right.
And I don't think they admit that the pain bothers them. I think there's sort of a code.
Okay, but there's other. Listen, as the only woman in the room, I got to say there are pain threshold things that I have to go through. And I still do it. No, not the childbirth. Not that. There's other more frequent things that I have to do that are very painful. I still do it, but it's painful. I don't enjoy it.
Does anyone have any idea what she's referring to?
Next topic.
I have some guesses, but yeah, maybe not for this show.
Wait, for you?
Maybe aside on the podcast later.
They did a scene about it in the 40-year-old virgin.
Yeah, I was right.
There. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
On to the headlines.
Yeah,
we're going to need more wax.
All I know is from the movie. Is that painful? That's really painful.
Wait, you have chest hair?
Yes, I do. And I get it waxed once a month along with my mustache.
That's so funny. My mind to me, when you said 4 years, I was thinking of the movie Bridesmaids, where they have that scene where they're trying on the wedding dress.
You think I poop myself every month?
Extreme diarrhea. I was like, does Maggie have extreme diarrhea situations?
You should see a doctor about that, man.
Yeah.
I think it's a problem.
By the way, I bet you waxing hurts.
That would be so awful. And she's going in the street.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
It's coming out like lava.
Must be the 3rd Wednesday of the month.
Look away.
Look away. Wait, one scene. Question.
You think we could have been friends this long and I could have been hiding a secret?
Yeah. Where's Maggie go every break? Look away. So, question. Waxing. And I know it from the 40-year-old virgin movie. But does it hurt like a tattoo on?
I don't know. I've never had a tattoo. But
I've a tattoo on like a hand.
Do you want to try it? Because it hurts.
That sounds like a bet.
They kind of did this in the movie, but.
Yeah. Well, they did it on the chest. I was thinking more Brazilian.
Yeah. You want to try it?
No, I really don't.
I'm going to tell you, it's not a pleasant way to spend 20 minutes.
No. But it can't hurt like a tattoo.
Then the residual afterwards.
Well, the problem is after it's fine, but it's just like it's also not permanent. So you got to keep going.
Well, this Ravens dude has to do that too.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. He's making it a monthly, daily, weekly thing.
Until the Ravens win the Super Bowl. Was there more?
Also, real quickly on this too, I like the commitment, or I don't know if I like it, but I respect the commitment. It's a little easy to do it when you're talking about one of the best franchises in the NFL. To say, oh, I'm going to get a tattoo until we win a Super Bowl. It's like, well, you've won a couple.
Yeah.
in your lifetime.
But he's picking something that's not necessarily ideal either. You know what I mean?
It's not ideal, but like
It'd be better if he was like a Cardinals fan.
Yeah.
It's like I'm getting 3 tattoos a year.
yeah, a Cardinals fan,
12 a year.
Falcons fan. Say I'm getting a tattoo until we win a Super Bowl for every game.
Jets fan.
Yeah, you go. I think you think twice about it.
Falcons have that weak NFC South, a lot of turmoil on the coaches. You know, that'd be a dangerous spot. They could run. They could have 8 wins a year, and that's a lot of pain.
Also, when do you start running out of like body space and you got to go to the face? It's like,
I
cool.
know.
Ravens beat the Bengals.
Good thing he wasn't a Patriots fan.
It would be. Wow. Anyway.
Panthers owner David Tepper docked $300,000 yesterday for throwing a drink at Jaguar fans Sunday. Tepper surprisingly showing next to no remorse in a statement, never really apologizing and saying he should have gotten security involved to handle his victims instead. Georgia tight end Brock Bowers has declared for the draft. He's a top 10 prospect. John Morant scored 26, including kind of dunking on Victor Wembanyama as the Grizzlies beat the Spurs 106-98. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander put 36 on the Celtics in the Thunder's 127-123 win. And Steph Curry scored 36 to get the Warriors past Goga Bitadze and the Magic 121-115.
Wait, what was the text that you got?
My friend, my buddy Dan, said that that's what you yell when you're stopped at a green light and the car ahead of you doesn't go. You go, go, Bitadze.
That's why you asked me randomly who that was. I was like, why is he asking me about Goga Bitadze?
Because he's now the patron saint of the show.
Oh, yeah, you were getting the breakfast, EJ. You missed the whole Go Bitadze bit.
I had no idea what you guys. Yeah, I know. I came out of the break. You're like, Goga Bitadze. I'm like, yeah. Played 2K. I played the Magic a couple nights ago on 2K. What do you want to know?
That's how we
about
say
him?
hello to each other now on the show. Go Bitadze. Go
It
Bitadze.
almost sounds like a password or like starting a magic trick. Like you spin it around, you're like, go Bitadze, and then like something appears.
Abracadabra.
Yeah.
That might be what Ash Ketchum says when he throws the Pokemon ball out and the Pokemon comes out.
Or like the secret password, like Fidelio from Eyes Wide Shut. Go Bitadze.
By the way, not a shocker that Steph Curry hit a 3 over Go Bitadze. The second an Eastern European big man gets switched on to Steph Curry.
It better be a 3.
That is lights out. Yeah. Steph Curry's made a career off of having Go Bitadze switch onto him. No, he destroys Jokic. Steph Curry's whole game is get a big man out on me, then I'll just destroy him on the perimeter. Yeah, he was eyeing Go Bitadze from the opening tip of that game.
He saw him get off the bus and was like, that's
yeah, switch that
Barbecue
dude onto me
chicken.
and just go the other way.
In case you didn't stay up late for the Mountain West showdown, number 13, Colorado State fought off New Mexico 76-68 for a 4-game win streak. Number 14, Duke dumped Syracuse 86-66. And Pete didn't like the radio call of Caitlin Clark's game winner last night. Here's how the 40-foot 3 sounded on TV, or at least streaming on Peacock.
Davis, time winding down. Are they going to get the ball up in time? Clark for the win!
Yeah.
She does it time and time again!
That's Clark scoring 40 total to beat Michigan State, 76-73.
They got a lot of credit for the little microphone near the net there because that was a great swoosh right there. And she hit nothing but net.
From, again, 38, 39 feet. Just
it is
ridiculous.
insane. It's Steph Curry like.
It's just funny, though. Like, you've got one job if you're Michigan State.
Yeah.
And they almost...
She can't get the ball.
And she didn't get it until there were like 8 tenths left. She just got it in time. And just got it. In fact, people were originally saying that it was late because the TV clock was off.
Oh, okay.
And it got to 0 before she released it, but the clock that counts on the basket, clear as day, 2 tenths out of her hand, no problem.
To defend Michigan State defensively there, it's a tie game. So while, yes, a Caitlin Clark 3 is what she wants, I mean, you can't just say, I'm going to just cover all up because she just blow right by you and then there's a layup or someone gets a layup wide open. It's trickier to cover her in that situation.
You might take a 40-foot 3 compared to...
Right, you probably live with that.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a
Caitlin Clark. Yeah.
Still, it's like, you got to be sick if you're Michigan State to lose that way because here's the one thing about Caitlin Clark. Like, what's the future here? Like, what more? Is she going to keep topping this? Is this what?
You got to win a championship. That's
right. You gotta win the title.
I don't. I'm actually thinking about it. I bet she goes out in the 3rd round. And we don't even get this. I mean, that WNBA.
Oh, I mean, she might. I'm saying, but like, if she wants to, how do you finish this story in a satisfying way? She has to win a championship.
Well, I would think or she goes on to become a WNBA legend. I think that's a satisfying ending. No,
I think she might do that
satisfying.
anyway.
Yeah, I think that's likely, quite frankly, that's how awesome she is. But I mean, I'm going to keep it a buck. Right now, your college career, I think, is way more memorable right now than your WNBA career is today. Now, that may change in the years, and the W has done an amazing job of moving the sport forward. I love watching these games over the summer. The playoffs were awesome this year. But right now, like, this is your prime earning potential where you're Caitlin Clark. This is your prime kind of eyeballs watching. So, yeah, you got to win a championship at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, she elevated college basketball. She could elevate the WNBA. I think people are going to want to see her in the WNBA. She'll probably get high ratings to come in. And Maggie said earlier, if she could get an Angel Reese rivalry going, oh my God, it'd be amazing. Kind of Bird and Magic.
Oh, definitely. Like a rivalry with her and someone else. Angel Reese seems like the obvious one, but
wow, yeah.
It's like that would just be incredible.
But did Sabrina Ionescu win a title?
No, remember they had the COVID year.
COVID.
They were supposed to.
So like. I mean, did that hurt her? Because, I mean, she's as famous as anybody.
No,
and
Caitlin Clark is different,
I think her
different
not
famous
having
than any player.
Oh,
ever.
I would push back. I think if Sabrina Ionescu had the Final Four run that Oregon was supposed to have, she would have been an even bigger star than she is now. No question.
I think Caitlin Clark is a unicorn. I've always thought that she's just way different than any other star.
I mean, I agree with that, but like I'm saying for Sabrina, I think not having that tournament really hurt her, and she's still done well. But
one of the things that got her, Sabrina, that is, onto the national consciousness and made her break through was obviously Kobe.
Yes,
I mean Kobe and Gigi, and may they rest in peace, was that having that very public relationship. Kobe's sort of endorsing her, if you will. You know, I think really did a lot.
This comes from the Dan Patch show because we were big in Iowa, so we knew about Caitlin Clark as a freshman. That everyone would call him from Iowa and say, we have the phenom. She's just way different than Sabrina Ionescu, than any other superstar, because she's Steph Curry.
Yeah.
She's just reinvented the game in a different way. And I don't know if she's that good, though. That's the thing. Like, can she win a WNBA title? Probably not, right? I don't know if she's that.
She has.
She'll be on a better team. No offense.
I mean, WNBA right now, you have a super team situation where you have Vegas and New York has all the stars.
Yeah, like is Caitlin Clark going to be able to break through that? I doubt it.
You got to make your own super team, just like the NBA.
Exactly. It takes another owner to decide they're going to invest in their team, and all of a sudden they can have a team.
I think Caitlin Clark's also helped by she's at Iowa, who's not a powerhouse, so she knows she has to take the shot. EJ, you play when you have the green light. Oh my God, you're just so confident. I think she was in the right spot. If she'd gone to LSU, she never would have had a career like this.
I was looking at the box score. She took 23s in this game.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I mean, look, those are good shots for her. Like she should take 23s probably, but like I don't know. Has Steph Curry took 23s in the NBA game before? Like if he hasn't done it often.
He did at Davidson though. Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't think he did it at Davidson. I love Steph Curry. He's one of my favorite all-time athletes, and I watched him a bunch of Davidson. Like that's. That's a light as bright as the green arrow, the green lantern in terms of like your green light.
If she'd gone to UConn or to LSU or a great school, she never would have had this career.
That's
She was in the right spot at the right time, I think.
Yeah. Bogish, anything else?
No, I'm good.
Thank you very much. We got more to do, including the must-win game this weekend. We've got it for you next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Must-win games all over the place this weekend. None bigger than for my Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins, which feels like kind of a sick joke after this type of season, up and down for the Bills, that they would be in a... Basically, you have to win and get in if you want to assure yourself to get to the playoffs. And not only that, if they win in Miami, they win the division, or they could lose and miss the playoffs completely. It's like, it's a sick joke for us Bills fans.
Yeah, it's a great scenario, though. I mean, if you can't beat this Miami team with the injuries, then you don't deserve to be in the playoffs anyway, right?
I don't know if they deserve to be in anyway, even if they were to win. I mean, they barely beat the Chargers, barely beat the Patriots. This team is, besides that Cowboy win, where Josh Allen did very little to the point where he said he felt like he was on the group project, didn't do anything, and got an A. It's very odd.
I think your guys are, I know EJ said this, you're overestimating how close the Patriots were to winning that game. I didn't feel at any point like the Bills.
Not when they returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown?
Yeah, especially.
Or when they mounted a comeback in the fourth quarter?
I don't know. I mean, come on. Did you really think the Bills were going to, were you panicking about that game?
Yes, they were a 14-point favorite, and they ended up winning by a touchdown, and they felt they were lucky for that. Michael is in Las Vegas. Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Hi, I just wanted to, no sports today. I just wanted to laugh at what Perloff said. He said, at least I think he said, nobody improves themselves.
Have you ever improved yourself, Michael, with New Year's resolutions or any kind of strategy?
Not, No, it reminded me of the Seinfeld when George says, any kind of growth really irritates me.
Michael, thank you for that. Yes, I was lamenting New Year's resolutions. Perloff says nobody believes in their resolutions. So why am I even shaking my fist at anyone for this? I like that we've kind of moved away from this all or nothingness, you know? It seems like the society more is about baby steps now.
I feel like you read this in Peter King's column and think that everybody is thinking like this. I've not heard one other person say, hey, I'm over with New Year's resolution. You think there's this popular movement out there to banish New Year's resolutions. It's not out there.
We're getting there, though. With the power of this microphone, I will end New Year's resolutions
this is your
for everyone.
cause, and it's a good one.
Like Thanos.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You think that I would have something better to do with my time.
Let's move New Year's resolutions to March. That's Maggie's
Guys,
big cause.
Let's go. All right. I'll get the petition. I'll start signing it. We'll get this thing right to the Senate floor. Let's do Aaron Rodgers.
What the is Aaron Rodgers up to today?
It's getting weird over there, Rodgers land. This guy is deep into conspiracy theories. We know that. Some more dangerous than others. He's got one about the Super Bowl logo that apparently is making the rounds. The last two Super Bowl logos have conveniently also had the colors of the two teams who participated in the Super Bowl. What most people would call that is a coincidence. What Rodgers is alleging is this is a conspiracy because this year's logo has red and purple. So if the 49ers and the Ravens make it, Perloff, that means this was scripted by the NFL.
Of course.
So Rodgers said this about next year's logo.
If the Super Bowl is Baltimore and San Fran, and I'll tell you what, that Super Bowl 59 emblem better have jet green on it, because I know you've seen that one, Connor. That's a real interesting.
Yeah. Well, let's not get into that today.
What are we talking about?
What happened?
What's the Jet 59? What you just tied the Ravens and the Niners?
Don't worry.
In the Super Bowl 59 into something.
But not like the
just look
logos
at the
of
colors.
team colors that have been in.
Look at the colors.
Super Bowl.
We gotta get this guy healthy and off the internet.
Well,
Aaron Rodgers is down every wormhole and rabbit hole imaginable.
Well, I think the McAfee guys, first of all, McAfee had no idea what he was talking about, but the McAfee guys, of course, we've seen this. We talked about this logo theory on the show. People, this is not a mystery to anybody, but here's my question. Is Aaron Rodgers saying that kind of ironically? Because the color thing on the logos has been a thing for 2 years now.
I mean,
it's not a real, he's like kind of saying, oh, look at this. He's joking, right? Or does he really believe that it's scripted?
You know, I can't tell anymore with Rodgers. Like, where does the actual believing stop and the winking end? Because some of the stuff he's saying at the end of these, he said yesterday at the end, he's saying some crazy stuff in these interviews. Crazy stuff now. And it might get him in trouble if he keeps alleging certain things about Jimmy Kimmel and otherwise. I mean,
well, that
dangerous territory here, talking about
I think
Jeffrey
that's a lot
Epstein.
different.
It's wild.
I think the Jimmy Kimmel thing is a lot different because that's very specific and that's a real person.
Yeah.
People have been joking about this Super Bowl. Like, he can't possibly take this seriously.
Here's my question about Rodgers, right? So I know he's not married. He doesn't have kids that we know about, right? So that in general will give you some extra time on your hands.
Throwing a little suspicion out there.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, okay.
He has no kids. I can't say confidently, but he doesn't have any kids we know about, and he's not married. So he's got a little extra time on his hands. He's got so much time on his hands, though. I would think being a rich and famous athlete, you'd have more to do than be this extremely online as he is.
Whatever. LeBron is doing more radio producing than... LeBron is online all the time, too. He weighs in on everything, and it's great.
I guess, but do you think LeBron is going to be into all these conspiracy theories and then talking about them?
Not on air. No, you're right. But
like
I do
the
think.
lizard
but there's
people
a big
and stuff
chunk.
like that?
I was on lunch from jury duty yesterday. I watched almost the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. He is basically Dan Orlovsky. That guy is ready to opine on he should be on ESPN's NFL show. The dude's ready on every topic, breaks it all down, and he's a very good analyst with a little bit of kook.
Little bit.
A little.
No, I mean, if you watch that interview, you could not come away from it and say, oh, Aaron Rodgers sounds crazy, because he had like these very logical, normal, middle-of-the-road explanations on several football topics.
Yes, on the sports stuff. And then you go color a little bit outside the lines, and man.
Alphabet gangsters.
But he's so bored on that McAfee show, he's trying to get the guys he's trying to get a raise out of the guys. And you heard
Sure.
McAfee said, oh, we're not going to do that now. It's like, oh, here's Aaron trying to stir the pot. It's just like, you have that friend, don't you, where you're sitting around at dinner. He's like, hey, did you hear that conspiracy theory?
Not really, but
We have a boss who will do that in 2 seconds.
That is true. You can do that with our boss. But he also mentioned one other thing in that interview, is that he is going to be doing more psychedelic drugs this offseason.
Awesome.
So the whole reason why WTF Aaron Rodgers was born in the first place gets a whole new makeover this summer.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be great if you added more things besides ayahuasca to the mix.
Let's go.
See what comes out.
He said maybe mescaline. We're not sure. Could be anything. Thank you, EJ Stewart. Thank you, Pete Pilati. Thank you to Andrew Kaplan, Andrew Bogish, Weedos, coffee drinkers, callers. We love you.
You're in a 5-minute break.